Hi guys! So we are going to jump right back into cross-examination for Grace Jabbari. We are in the middle of day 7 of the trial. It was her third day on the stand, and we just finished with Priya Chaudhry going through all of the different steps of CAR 1, CAR 2, and CAR 3. Now, with this, we're going to be getting back into what's going on in Lucy's nightclub. Dani might be popping in, and I see that Tracker's here, and the catering was pretty good. It was like Mexican food, so it was a little bit interesting to try to eat and make a taco on the go, but... And then, hey Pam, sorry you're stuck at work, but thanks for tuning in. And hey Big Will. So let's jump right in. I think I found the spot that we left off because it says, we're all done with the cars. All done with the cars, sir. I don't want to repeat testimony. Let's move on. So I think we're at the club now. And remember, they're still doing this compilation video, so we're going to keep seeing these timestamps for when they stop and start. And they're starting it at 22:34. Miss Jabbari, did you just saw yourself come into the club, right? Yes. And you're showing a wrist stamp to one of the people who works at the club, correct? It would appear to be that, yeah. And we're already getting with the not so sure language. So then they play a little bit more. Your hair is back in a bun there, correct? Correct. So you retied it into a bun by that time? It looks like that, yes. That's Chloe, you, Max, and Shams coming in the club, right? Yes. That's Chloe coming down. That's you. You were just using the right rail, correct? The railing on the right. I wasn't looking at my hand. You could go back and I could confirm. The railing on the right, correct? Yes. And that's you holding the railing? Yes. With your right hand, right? Yes. That's Chloe on the screen, correct? Yes. And that's you? It's all of us. And you just brushed your hair on the right side of your head behind your right ear with your right hand, right? Can you go back? There's a lot going on. That's Chloe. And that's you brushing your hair, correct? Yes. With your right hand behind your right ear. Above my head, not behind my ear. So she's just like going like this to push her hair up. Then they play a little bit more. That's you, Chloe, Max, and Shams walking through another door. Miss Jabbari, can you please point to yourself in this video? You could see me through that kind of square. That's you, correct? And then so Perez asked if you could put that part on the screen, on the record, Judge. So they repeat, if we could just put the part of the screen on the record. Describe the part of the screen. Miss Jabbari just indicated from the right, about 1/4 of the way down the screen, about the middle of the screen. Is that correct? And the figure that appears to be in a box, is that correct? Yes. So then they play another clip. That's Chloe standing there with you now, right? The blonde? Yes. Miss Jabbari, that is you with your coat over your right hand, right? Yes. Yes. That's you with your coat over your right arm, correct? I believe so, yes. And that is your handbag that you had on your right hand, correct? Yes. And you were holding the bag with your left, correct? It looks that way, both hands, I think. And you're reaching in with your right to retrieve something, correct? Now, this part of the video, she's like really digging in there. Like it looks like her purse is full and she's like forcing her card back in, pulling it back out. It doesn't just look like she's daintily using her right hand. And you were, wait, so I'm skipping the line. And you're reaching in with your right to retrieve something, correct? Yes. So they play a little bit more. And that is you using your fingers to pick out a credit card, correct? Using my hand and my finger, yes. That's you holding the credit card in your right hand, right? Now, can you use your hand fingerlessly to pull out the card? You like use it backwards or something? Like she had to clarify it. That's you talking to Shams and Chloe, correct? Yes. That is your hand on top of the bag there, correct? Yes. That's you laughing, correct? Yeah. You're leaning in to talk to the bartender right there to order the champagne, correct? Yeah, I was ordering a drink. I think there's a typo in the transcript there. And you're leaning in because the club is very loud, right? I would assume so, yes. Well, you were there, weren't you? Objection, Judge. Don't be argumentative, just ask the question. Sorry, was it loud? Yes. You've now opened the menu with both hands, correct? Yes. So this is where they're going to order like the champagne or something. And you, with guess whose credit card. And there we go. And you and Chloe are selecting something off the menu, right? Yes. And it's the bottle of the champagne that you're selecting, right? Yes. That's the champagne you're going to pay for with Mr. Major's credit card, correct? Objection. No, she could explain. Go ahead. Yeah, the card I used that he gave me, yes. The card had his name on it, correct? Yes. And he paid the bill for that card, correct? Yes. Miss Jabbari, you just brushed your hair behind your right ear back with your left hand there, correct? Yes. And your left hand went directly behind your earlobe, didn't it? No, I don't believe so. We could rewatch it. Yeah, no, I don't. I believe I was just brushing it, like, across my hairline. Did that hurt when you did that? I wasn't focusing on the pain. I was just trying to have a nice time. So it didn't hurt? Objection. Sustained. 25-21, so they play a little bit more. I wonder why that was sustained. Maybe because it was asked and answered? Did it hurt when you did that so it didn't? Yeah, I guess asked and answered. It's annoying that they don't they don't transcribe the reasons for the objection. Miss Jabbari, that's you dancing, correct? Yeah, not very well, and she was supposed to laugh when she said that. And that's you reaching back into the bag, correct? I cannot tell, to be honest. Miss Jabbari, do you remember what time that was happening? No, not the precise time, I don't. You've just switched your coat from your right to your left, and you just reached for the pen, right? Yes. And now you're signing for the bill with your right hand. Yes. And you also just indicated with your right hand, holding up 4 fingers, that you need 4 champagne glasses. I missed that, but I believe so. She says go back. That's your signing the bill with your right hand, and you just put up 4 fingers. Do you see that? It's very blurry. Let's see if you see. We'll keep playing. Did you see there? I see my hand go up, yes. You're having trouble there figuring out where to sign, right? Objection as to the form? No, that's overruled. Do you understand the question? I do. I don't know the answer. I think it's probably a mixture of, all right, if you don't know the answer, move on. That's the only time. There's all these other times she says, I don't know, and the judge never blurts in to be like, I don't know. Usually there's supposed to be an objection from the attorneys to be like, objection. It's going to be speculation if she's saying she doesn't know. But the judge here just steps in and says it. So, who knows? Miss Jabbari, that is you putting your right hand back into your bag right there, right? Yes. And you're doing that while you're talking to Shams, correct? It looks like that, yes. So they play more. Your hand is in your bag. Your right hand is in your bag there. And you're laughing. And now, don't comment, ask questions. Are you laughing? You're laughing there, right? Yes, it looks like I am. You're holding both phones at this time, right? You have one phone in your right hand and the other phone in your left hand. Yes. Play, they pause. Miss Jabbari, you're using one of the phones with your right hand in this, correct? I think so, yes. And you're looking at your phone, right? Yes. Now, you picked up the champagne in your right hand, correct? Yes. And you now I do wish as Priya was going through this, she would say more instead of you're using your right hand. She would emphasize more that you're using the hand with the injured finger to do this, right? You're using the hand with the injured finger to do this, right? You're using the hand that you say was injured to do this, right? Because the jury's, if they're tuning out the repetition isn't really emphasizing the inconsistency. The repetition is emphasizing, we know that the right hand is the one with the injury, but maybe that should be stated more clearly every time it's repeated. And you and Chloe both are seen on the screen holding champagne, and you just took the champagne in your right hand and clinked glasses with somebody, right? I think so, yes. And then you're taking a sip here, right? It's hard to tell. It's very blurry. We'll keep watching. You just use your right hand to sweep your hair behind your head again, right? Yeah, I think so. Again, it's hard to tell, but if you say so. But see, this is where, the judge doesn't cut in on this stuff and say, well, if you don't know, don't say it. She's done this through her whole testimony, but when there might have been an important answer, he butts in and says, if you don't know, don't answer. So, now you're putting something back into your hand, into your bag with your right hand, right? Yes. And you just took the champagne in your right hand, correct? Yes. And proceeded into the dance floor, correct? Or right? Yes. And then brushed your hair back with your right hand one more time, right? Yes. And this is the DJ booth at the club, right? Yes. So they play a little bit more. And then Chaudhry says, you're going to have to go back. May I approach the screen to point? You want to go up there? Can I use my finger for a second and come back? There's too many people for me to describe it out. She could ask the question. See if she knows exactly what you're speaking about. Miss Jabbari, do you see yourself at the bottom right of the screen yet? No. Sir, move the mouse to the right and up 2 inches. That's you, isn't it? If you say so. I'm sorry, it's very blurry. Objection, Judge, if she doesn't know. Do you know if that's you? I don't know. I can't tell at all. I'm sorry. If you keep your eye on that image and let us know whether you could say whether that's you or not. Watch the image. Okay, were you able to identify yourself there? It could be me. It's very, very hard to tell. I'm sorry. Sir, please move the mouse to the right and up about 5 inches. That's you, isn't it? I mean, it could be. It's very, very blurry image. You were dancing near the DJ booth at the club, weren't you? Yeah, I think the table they had was just behind, a few meters there. So they play a little bit more. Miss Jabbari, do you see yourself in the bottom right of the screen? Sorry, at this point I cannot, no. Can you see yourself at the bottom right of this frame? Do you see the blouse you're wearing? I think I could see that. Kind of has the same shirt I was wearing, yeah. That would be your right hand at the bottom of the screen, holding hands with who we can't see off screen, right? Potentially. It's very blurry. What's the timestamp? So the associate says 29:33. At that point, that's where you recognize who you believe is yourself in the video. I recognize the shirt. You recognize the shirt. Okay, go ahead. This is the bar again, right? Yes. And you've returned to the bar with Chloe in this, right? Yes. And you're laughing and talking to... Objection. Correct. That's overruled. Yes, I am. You're getting a refill. I'm assuming that means laughing and talking to Chloe. You're getting a refill of the champagne, correct? Yes. How long was it between your first glass and this refill? I don't know. You just grabbed the champagne with your right hand again, correct? Yes. And then they play a little bit more. Miss Jabbari, just to be clear, you were the blonde person at the bottom middle of the screen, correct? Dancing next to the bar. Yes, I think so. Well, that's Chloe standing in front of you. Yeah, right? Just get an answer to that question so it's clear for the record. That's Chloe facing you in the screen, right? Yeah. And someone has their hand on your left shoulder, correct? Yes. It's the bartender pouring shots, correct? Pouring something. I'm not sure what. Is he putting water in shot? Do you guys think the bartender's pouring water into shot glasses for them? What do you think? Let me know. Because apparently it's not shots. Miss Jabbari, this is a bar with ice available, correct? Yes. And you didn't ask the bartender for... Objection. Ice that night, did you? Sustained. Well, I mean, is she saying that it's hearsay? Is they saying that it's hearsay? I wonder why they sustained that. I hate that we can't see the reasons for the objections, but I'm going to assume that it was hearsay. Her saying it herself, reporting what she's saying. So, sustained. You testified that you were icing your finger at the club, right? Yeah, I believe maybe Chloe or someone, or I was just holding it against the cold glass, but I remember being aware of the pain, thinking, I need cold. And as we see you here, you haven't asked the bartender for ice, have you? The court says narrow that question. Ice for what? For your finger. Can you repeat the question? Yes. As we see you on the video at the bar, you have not asked the bartender for ice for your finger, have you? I have not. Sorry. So you play a little bit more. That's your right hand touching your chest, correct? Yes. Now we see the bartender pouring shots, correct? Yes. That's Chloe, Max, and you, correct? Chloe and me, and I don't know who the other person is. It could be Max. You just put your right hand on Chloe's shoulder, correct? I can't really tell. If you could press play, maybe. Yeah, my right hand is on Chloe's arm. And your left hand is holding the champagne, correct? Yes. You just took the shot off the bar with your right hand, correct? I did. And you moved the shot in front of you, correct? Yes. That is the tequila shot that you remember doing, is that right? I remember, yes. 32:19, they're playing some more. You just reached and grabbed the lime off the bar, correct? Yes. And you moved the lime, the portion of the lime, from the bar in front of you, correct? Yes. And you did that also with your right hand, correct? I did, yes. And that is your open right hand reaching for the shot, correct? In the bottom of the screen? I don't know what's in my hand, so they play it, and she says, yes, the shot. You're cheering with the other people, you're cheersing with the other people with your right hand doing a shot, correct? I am, yes. Miss Jabbari, how long was this after you claim that your finger is broken? Objection, rephrase the question, sustained. How long is this after you got out of the car after car 1? I don't know exactly. Couple of hours, 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. I don't know exactly. How long were you at the club? I think about 2 hours, yeah, I think. I can't remember exactly. Do you remember what portion of the time you were at the club you did shots? I'm unclear what you mean by that. During the time you were at the club, you don't know when you were doing the shot, is that right? I don't really know what you mean. Was it right when you got there? Was it in the middle of your time there? Was it when you were leaving? Objection, overruled. It was during my time at the club. I had a shot, that shot. Yeah, I don't really understand. Sitting here today, do you recall if you did that shot right when you got to the club, in the middle of the time at the club, or as you were leaving in the club? In the middle of the time at the club is what I believe, yeah. That's a weird question for her to be resistant on, unless she, like, thinks there's a reason that she could have injured her finger at the club at a specific time. I mean, maybe there's other reasons. I shouldn't say that's the only reason, but seems weird to me. And then they play the video more. Miss Jabbari, we just saw you wipe your mouth with the back of your hand. Your right hand, correct? Yeah, I think so. As we just saw you reach for the lime off the bar, correct? Do you want to see it again? No, I'm sure I did. Well, no, we need you to actually testify. If we could go back. This is you taking the shot, putting the glass down, wiping your mouth with your right hand, picking the, no, ask a question, don't narrate. Miss Jabbari, you just did the shot with your right hand, correct? Yes. And you put the shot back down with your right hand, correct? Yes. And you wiped your mouth with your right hand, correct? She's trying to establish that, if you have a fractured finger, if you have pain, you're going to avoid doing anything with the hand, just almost instinctively, because you know that it's hurting at this point. So if you're right hand dominant, you're going to be more cautious to use your left hand to grab things on the bar and try to baby your hand a little bit more. And she's just instinctively grabbing. It's not just that she's using her right hand fine. It's that she has there's no sign of her not using her right hand constantly. She's not even trying to use her left hand instead. So step by step, she's going through this. With the back of my right hand, yes, I did wipe my mouth. Then you picked up the lime with your right hand, correct? Yes. And you put the lime into your mouth with your right hand, correct? Yes. And then after, can you imagine if she like squeezed it with her middle finger? And then after, you sucked on the lime next, correct? I believe so. And then you removed the lime from your mouth with your right hand, correct? Yes. And then you put the rest of the lime rind back on the bar with your right hand, correct? Yes. And this is all while your left hand is holding a glass of champagne, correct? Yes. Miss Jabbari, you said previously it could have been 1 or 2 shots that you did at the club, right? Yeah, I can't remember. And you don't know if this is the first or second shot you did at the club, right? I really don't want to say 100%, So, yeah, I wouldn't want to say 100% either. They play a little bit more. You just transferred the champagne from your left to your right hand to continue drinking it, correct? Yes. And now you're holding a champagne glass again in your right hand. Is that right? Yes. And you're dancing at the bar, holding the champagne, correct? Yes. Miss Jabbari, we just saw you come back and get your second refill of champagne. How many refills did you have of champagne that night? I believe that was it, but I would have to have my memory refreshed. You could have had more champagne than that? Objection. Objection. Sustained. They're sustaining that because they're asking her to speculate. Yeah. Sitting here, do you know, they could have asked something like, so you don't know if you had more champagne than that. And then you could say, no, I don't know, because it's not speculating to say you don't know something. But to say you could have had is suggestive that you did, and if you don't know, you can't answer that. So that was probably an objection to speculation. Sitting here, do you know whether you had more champagne than that? Again, I would have to have my memory. We didn't order another bottle, so whatever was in the bottle we drank. You finished that bottle of champagne? Objection. Sustained. The group. The group finished the bottle of champagne? Yes. Of that, how many glasses did you have? I believe it was like 1 and a bit, but again, I would have to have my memory refreshed to say. This is the DJ booth again. Move the mouse to the right and up about 4 inches. That's you, isn't it? Oh, I think we're going to get to the head bonk. So let me check you guys out here. What are you guys doing over here? So Lucky's in here. Did we ever get to see the bill that she racked up? No. I don't believe so. It's possible that maybe it's in the transcript here. And then hold on, I don't want to butcher your name, so you're going to be Mont to me. Hey, Mont. And anger and alcohol are great painkillers. Was her name on the card? I mean, I don't know. I feel like nobody signs their credit card, nobody checks. So if her name's not actually on the account as like a co-user that can use the card, it probably doesn't matter because people probably aren't checking. And then, hey, cutie. And then the supposed injury. Yeah, I think some of the stuff from the judge is just like a little too weird. Like, I understand judges have discretion, judges are their own people, but some of the ways that there's been interjections here have just been odd. Like, just odd. And hey, Sheed. Glad you made it in. Yeah, I tried to like pop up at a consistent time today and keep it, you know, same as the rest of the week, sort of. Oh, and thank you so much for helping out, Antoinette. Yeah, so guys, if you wanted to chip in for the transcripts, the GoFundMe link is in the description. We're over halfway there to recoup the cost. This was like, I keep forgetting the amount, but I think it was $26.51. It was $2,651 to get the Grace Jabbari transcripts, and because you have to order them by days, it also came with Ryan Strix and Holly and Officer Swain. Because in New York, the cheapest you can get the per page cost down to is $4.30 per page. So shout out in a bad way to New York for that. But thank you so much for your help and chipping in there, Antoinette. And happy that you're tuning in. Then thank you for the super sticker. I gotta hop over to YouTube and see the sticker. I want to know what it was. And then it's Chloe and I, not me and Chloe. Yeah, can you imagine if the judge starts if the judge starts tuning in and he's like, "Listen, your grammar's bad, Priya Chaudhry. You got to get it together." But it seems like the judge is like really leaning in, like just joining in on the conversation. Like it's not testimony, it's just a conversation. And of course, she doesn't want to say. That's the pattern. That's the whole pattern I see in this whole trial. Alcoholics tend to not remember how many drinks they have. Yeah, and I mean, you mix that with someone that doesn't want to take accountability. I'm here too. Hey, Artemis. It's annoying that she gets to answer these questions like this. I'm telling you, it's very much because of her accent. Rosemary, I agree, and I think probably her bubbly demeanor too. You know, it just, she can probably get away with more like, oh, I don't know, hee hee. Were you able to pull up that pic of her neck? No, honestly, we have the tournaments today, so the finals start tomorrow. Well, quarterfinals start tomorrow, but like the finals weekend starts tomorrow. So we've been, like, I got home, took a shower, that's why like my face is still red a little bit, and got right on here. If you want to actually tweet it to me, if you're on X, I shouldn't say tweet anymore, but it's Ms. Marco Polo, MZ Marco Polo. Or if you just want to email it to me, it's kat@katwagner.com, WAGNER, and we can pull it up. I think, was it just, that was one of the people's exhibits, right? I might be able to just pull it up from the exhibit list. She didn't buy a $600 bottle of champagne with her money for sure. I think it was more expensive than that. I looked at the site. I think it was like $2,000. Maybe that was if you got a table with it. And the table was gotten by the friends. But the tables at that place were like $2,400 on a Friday night. I don't know. I don't know what the Saturday prices were. Rosemary, yeah, Rosemary was completely right. And then the judge lost my respect when he decided they open. Yeah, the open the door thing doesn't make sense to me either, because if you guys missed the first, I don't know if it was the first or second day that I was doing the reading, because I don't make it through the whole day of testimony in one of these lives, but they actually ask her, they have her read, they don't publish them to the jury, but they do have her read some of those text messages where they're talking about the I'm a monster on one of the beginning days of testimony while she's still on direct. So what they're saying is coming in is really just that bit about even if you lie, they're going to ask questions. That's the bit that they're saying was able to come in because the credibility of her not telling somebody came in. But like, I don't know. I really disagree with the decision to let it come in. I've been saying all along, I think that it was going to come in by any means necessary, because the day that they came in, all of the news media outlets already had articles ready to publish. They fired off by like 9:41 in the morning. And they also said, and if you're wondering why they came in, this is what Priya Chaudhry did to have them in. They already knew the reason for the door to be opened. So they got the memo, not just on the text messages, but on the motion that brought them in, even though that's supposed to be a sidebar that people aren't supposed to hear. So I have questions. I agree. The judge letting so much go is really frustrating. No, he lost my respect when he said, she's going to tell us what really happened. And it was actually a different word. Exactly what happened. That was the phrasing. She's going to tell us exactly what happened. That was the phrase. But same gist, right? And then you're quite late. So, I don't know. What are we, so really, actually, so far, this is where Priya's going through step by step of just all the things she's doing with her right hand, not just to show that she's using her injured hand, but that she's not even thinking to try to use her left hand to do anything. As someone with an injury where they're saying that they notice pain, if you're noticing pain, that's when you should start favoring a different part of your body and trying not to hit that part of your body that's actually feeling the pain. But she's not showing any indication that she's acting as if she realizes there's pain in her right hand for any of these moments in the club. So Priya's going through the glass, the lime, taking the lime back out of her mouth, moving a cup up and down, everything that is using her right hand over and over to demonstrate that she's not favoring her other hand at all. And then in the pictures from what I could see, just weird. Yeah, that one picture, I mean, well, we can pull it up, but it looks like she slept on the shutters. All right, sounds good. So we'll get back to it the next break. And if you do send it, just let me know where you sent it so I can look at it really quick and get it on the screen. Wouldn't it be funny if she passed out with the blinds semi-open and her vampire skin started burning? Garlic Jabbari. Maybe from the heated floor was so warm and it was uncomfortable. Yeah, we still gotta figure out. I gotta look at that penthouse and see if it says anything in the MLS. Like, is there a heated floor in the walk-in closet? The fact that they had that specific section ready and what, yep. And I'm telling, it was really, because I woke up during the trial every day and I was just searching for news updates, rapid fire, and they were there right away. She's a succubus. And then the judge was in on me on making sure he was found guilty of something and he got 15 minutes of fame. Yeah, he just seemed like he was like entertained in that court. And I think he might be the same one, and it's still early. But Kevin Porter Jr. has the same arraignment judge that Majors had. It wasn't Pauline, it wasn't Gaffey. I think it was like Jim something with a J. And I'm wondering if like that goes through the same thing. Like the arraignments are all held by this guy, and then the trials go through either Rachel Pauley or Junior trial, if it goes to trial, could end up being in the same courtroom with Gaffey. And that's another case where you have a strangulation charge where the person who was allegedly strangled is like, there was no strangulation. What are you talking about? Although, to be fair, we find out that Grace Jabbari did actually tell more than one person she was strangled. So, but let me jump back into this. That's you, isn't it? Where are we now? They're looking at this video, but at the DJ booth. I think we're getting to the head bonk. Could you play a bit more? Yes. I could see myself, yes. And you see that's you? Can you move the mouse? That's your head that the mouse is on, right? So they have the mouse right on her head. They know what they're gonna do. And we just saw you holding hands with somebody that we can't see on the screen, right? I don't know what I was holding, but my arm was extending, yes. That's your right arm that's extended, right? Yes. What was the timestamp? 33:48. 33:48, I think that's a typo. And the timestamp on the surveillance video is 2:27 a.m. and 50 seconds. It's a bit to see it again. You're dancing there, right? Yes. And that's you at the bottom of the screen, right? Yes. That was you just being twirled on the dance floor with your right hand, correct? Yes. That's Chloe next to you, right? Yes. And you and Chloe are dancing. And is that Shams? I'm not sure. I think so. But I don't know for sure. At the bottom of the screen on the right, that's Chloe. Turn to take a selfie with you, correct? I'm reading Chaudhry's voice and Jabbari's voice. My bad, Chaudhry. So she's holding her phone to take a selfie. Objection judge, characterization. We could do back. Go back and ask the question again. That's Chloe with her arm extended there, right? I wonder why they didn't like that. Maybe turn to take a selfie with you? That's Chloe with her arm extended there, right? Yeah. And that's Chloe now holding a camera. I'm sorry, a phone in her hand, right? Yes. And she extended her hand, correct? Yes. And she's trying to take a selfie with you, right? It looks that way, yes. Move the mouse to the right and up to the bottom of the screen, right-hand quadrant. That's you with your right arm on Sham's neck, correct? Oh, is she strangling Shams? Yes. This is the moment where the photos that we saw earlier from you at the club were taken, correct? I think so, yes. And we see the timestamp. This is 2:28:45 in the morning, correct? Yes. This is just under 2 hours after you got out of the car, after car 1, correct? Okay, yes. So they play a little bit more. On the bottom right, we can see you and Shams and Chloe posing for the photos we've seen in this case already, right? Yes. That's you posing for another photo, and the time of day on the surveillance is 2:29:42, right? Yes. So if you're about to go tell people you have all these cuts and bruises and everything like that, and you're a big private person, why are you taking 30,000 selfies? Like, yes. And Miss Jabbari, you testified that just to the right is where the birthday party was, correct? No, I believe like up there, like around there was where they had their kind of area. Describe where that is. Are you referring to the center of the dance floor? I am not. Like the right, where the mirrored looking wall is. They have a ton of tables and an area to sit around there. It wasn't near the DJ booth? It was the area I just said, but earlier she said it was right near the DJ booth. We just like heard her say that. Miss Jabbari, do you see yourself? You could see yourself standing in front of the DJ booth there, correct? Yes, I can. That is you in the middle of the screen about a third of the way from the right, correct? Correct. And you're talking to the DJ, right? Yeah, it would appear to be that. That is your right hand you just put on the DJ booth, right? Yes. You're pointing to the DJ, correct? Yeah, she's like Google, like, this is one of my favorite videos from this whole case because she just looks like she is ready to make a connection with somebody. That's all I think. So you and the DJ are speaking directly to each other, correct? Yes. And I actually wondered if they knew each other. Because, Jabbari goes out. She testifies that she didn't know the name of the club until she got there. But I was thinking, I'm like, maybe there's a chance she knows this DJ. This is like her crowd. Like she goes out. And it just coincidentally he happened to be there. If not, it's weird because she just like takes this dude's cigarette or whatever. She's about to start smoking it. So you and the DJ are speaking directly to each other, correct? Yes. Miss Jabbari, you just put something into your mouth, right? Yes, I did. This is the only time she's confident. She's like, yes, I did. I put something in my mouth. Are you smoking there? It looks like I'm having a drag of a cigarette, yes. You're holding the cigarette in your right hand, correct? I can't tell, but maybe. Let's watch. So they watch it. You just passed something to the DJ with your right hand, correct? Correct, yes. The cigarette is in your right hand, correct? Yes, it is. It's still in your right hand, correct? I can't see right now. Yes. Miss Jabbari, that's you dancing with champagne in your left hand and a cigarette in your right, correct? I can't see. You just took a drag of the cigarette. Did you see that? I did not know. Did you see that? Objection. That's sustained. See what? Did you see it that time? I didn't know. I've seen it previously. That time I didn't. I'm sorry. We could keep playing. It's in evidence. Don't make comments, just ask questions. Miss Jabbari, did you see yourself take a drag of the cigarette there? I did. It's lit up in your hand in the scene, right? Yeah. It's in your right hand, correct? Correct. And there's no smoking in New York establishments, so, there's that. It's like you're not supposed to record people in London without their consent. You're not supposed to smoke in public places in New York. You're not supposed to hold people captive in moving vehicles when they're trying to leave. You're not supposed to hit people because you want to take their property from them. You're not supposed to chase people if they don't want to be harassed. You're not supposed to call people 32 times if they don't want to talk to you. But I mean, let's just give her a pass because she says like and kind of a lot. So, what's the timestamp on that? 38:16. Miss Jabbari, you're dancing at this time, right? Yes. The court says again, it's coming. If you could play it slightly faster. Miss Jabbari, now you're dancing with your right hand on the DJ booth, correct? My right hand is touching the DJ booth, yes. Can you go to 36:15 in this video? Miss Jabbari, can you move the mouse to the right and up about an inch? That's you, correct? Yes. Please watch yourself for the next 3 seconds. Miss Jabbari, you just hit your head on the DJ booth, didn't you? Objection. I didn't. She said she did not. Move on. The judge is immediately. Miss Jabbari, we paused the video where the surveillance says it's 3:02:56, correct? Yes. And this is the hostess stand that is present at the entrance and exit of the nightclub, right? I guess so, yes. And you just left the dance floor, correct? Yes. And now you are no longer on the dance floor, correct? I mean, that's the same question, kind of. That's correct, yes. So they played a 41:15. That's you still drinking champagne, correct? And that's Chloe with you, correct? Yes and yes. Just to be clear, in this scene, your coat is over your left forearm, correct? Yes. And as we're looking at you, your right hand is the one holding a phone at this time, right? That's hard to tell. So they play it. I would say both hands. Well, here your right hand is scrolling on the phone, correct? That's your thumb? My right thumb, yes. Now you're holding one phone in your right hand, correct? Yes. And you have your other phone on the hostess stand, correct? Yes. Now you're using your right hand to use the other phone, correct? My right index finger, yes. You just picked up the phone with the right hand. I did, yes. You're still holding the phone in your right hand. Both hands, now left hand. Now you've moved the other phone by reaching into your bag with your right hand, correct? Yes. So there's a phone in each hand, correct? Yes. Mr. Jabbari, you're leaning against the bar there, right? I am, yes. And you just put the phone into the bag with your right hand, correct? Yes. And I'm telling you, anyone with a purse that's ever had too much stuff in it, when you try to put a phone, which is like a large annoying object, some phones like barely fit into certain purses, and you've really gotta like finagle the bagel to get it in. It's not just something that doesn't require dexterity. And her bag looked packed in these videos, in the surveillance footage. It's not just some, oh, you have this big opening in the bag, you drop the phone in, you're good to go. She's like, I wish I had something near me. She's like stuffing too many pieces of paper into an envelope to try to get this phone in her purse. She's using her whole hand to force this down with her hand that's supposed to be broken and injured and in an excruciating pain. So, but who knows? She was a dancer that danced with broken ribs. But doesn't know where her rotator cuff is. And doesn't know what a radiologist is. And you just put the phone into your bag with your right hand, correct? Yes. Mr. Jabbari, you just brushed your hair behind your ear, your right ear, with your right hand, correct? No, I brushed it against my head, my hair, out of my way. And at this time, was your hair stuck to the cut on your ear? I don't know. Did you feel it stuck? No, I didn't. Did you feel any blood when you moved your hand behind your... I didn't touch behind my ear, so I didn't. You just grabbed Chloe's with your right hand, right? I did, yes. This is you leaving the club at 3:06:51 a.m., right? I believe so, yes. That's you walking up the stairs, holding the railing with your right hand, correct? Yes. That's you coming up another set of stairs and turning the corner, holding the railing with your right hand, correct? Yes. That's you putting your right hand on Chloe's shoulder, correct? Yes. Mr. Jabbari, that was you trying to go through the wrong door to exit, right? Ah, she's drunk. Objection sustained. I don't know why that would be sustainable, but whatever. I guess maybe speculation. That door, but then you should still let her try to answer. Because she didn't say she didn't know. That door that you were going through was not the exit, was it? It would appear not to be, no. Weird. That is you in the center of the screen, right? Me and Chloe, yes. You're the one on the left of what we're looking at, right? Yes. In the same green and white shirt? Exactly. You're wearing your... And Chloe is the blonde woman on the right who is wearing a halter top. Is that right? Yes. And then they play a little more. That was you bumping into the wall on the left, right? Objection, judge, sustained. You bumped into the wall on the left, right? I wonder... I guess maybe when you say that was you, does that make a difference? Yeah, I think I just brushed past it. I was looking at my phone. I just brushed past it. That's you hugging Chloe goodbye, correct? Yes. That is your right arm that is on her back, right? That's correct, yes. That is your right hand, that is your right arm that we see, correct? Yes. That is your right hand with which you are brushing Chloe's back, correct? So she's just standing there like, Chloe, Chloe, good old Chloe, with her right hand. And that is your right hand on Chloe's left shoulder, right? Yes. That's you rubbing Chloe's back with your right hand, correct? Yes. I wonder how long this is time-lapse for. Did they give us a timestamp? Nah, I don't want to do the math. I don't see a timestamp too close by. We're going to see another angle of that. Mr. Jabbari, that is you that came out first, right? Yes. That is your right ear pressed against the right side of Chloe's head, right? I can't tell how close our heads are, but that is the right side of your head. That is the right side of my head, yes. That is your right hand on Chloe's shoulder? Yes. And the finger that we see with the ring on it is your ring finger, correct? Yeah, the one next to my little finger. Oh, like little pinky finger. Right, and so the middle finger is the one just above it, correct? Yes, yes. That's you holding Chloe's forearm with your right hand, correct? Why is she just like holding her forearm? Is that something like girls do? What does that mean? Weird. Objection, judge. Objection to the form. I'm going to sustain the objection. You were touching Chloe's hand with your right hand as you left, correct? I was touching her arm, and then I was blocked by the pillar, the rest of the vision. Can we go back a little bit? But that was your right hand touching her arm on the way out, right? Yeah. Mr. Jabbari, that was... Can you tell us where we paused? So they're at 48:27, and that was you brushing your hair with your right hand as you walked out, correct? Yeah. Moving the hair off my face with my right hand, and that's at 3:09 a.m. and 30 seconds. So it's been about like 3 minutes because we were just at 3:06:05, I think. So 6 minutes 25 seconds. Mr. Jabbari. Wait, no, I said 30. Maybe I should just check. 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Mr. Jabbari, this is outside the club, right? That's you waiting for a taxi? Yes. That's you hailing a taxi? Yes. And that's the car you get in? Yes. Mr. Jabbari, you just opened that car door. It appears to be a minivan, correct? I'm not sure. The door just slid back to open. Yes, it did. Continue. Now we can see, are they going to debate over opening the door? Now we can see it's a minivan, correct? Correct, yes. This is the lobby of the Chelsea Mercantile, correct? Yes. And that's you walking into the lobby, correct? Yes. So they pause the video. Let's end it there. Let's stop it there. Can I ask one question? Sure. Did Chloe ever send you a copy of that selfie that we saw you take with her on the dance floor? On the American phone, I believe she did. Not immediately. Have we seen that photo in this case? Yes. The selfie. Oh, I don't know that. She sent me a photo. One of the photos. So maybe I misspoke then. I would have to go check if it was a selfie, or I don't know. Thank you. So then they take a lunch recess. Then they're going to come back in. But let me go back and do this. Let me see what you guys are saying. And then... Oh, thank you so much, Lucky. I definitely appreciate it. And I definitely have to check. I know that Casey was supposed to be there for the day that the driver was there. So that would be easy to get. But if you guys were interested in that, I can get the quotes for what those transcripts would be the other days. So when it would have been Detective Mejia, Dr. Xiang. I think, was the DV expert the same day as the driver? I don't remember when the DV expert was, but I know the one day the DV expert was only there for like, oh, bye, we don't need you anymore. So if that was a different court reporter day, it wouldn't be that important. And I don't really care to see what the DV expert said anyway. And then who else did the defense call? Oh, Rispoli. So Elon Rispoli, his talent manager that was on the phone with him that established the timeline for the calls and everything. That was a different court reporter. So I'd have to go and find out who the name was for that person. But if you guys were interested also in the driver, Chloe, and Max, maybe Max isn't that relevant. I think we'd have to order all of it as one bundle because it's all one day. But since it's 3 witnesses and there was some stuff going on that morning, I don't think it's going to be 188 pages, so it'd probably be cheaper than this day of testimony cost. But thank you for your donation specifically. And you guys also let me know, like, should we consider getting the other ones? I know some people are going to want to see that part where Savid was like, oh, like, don't share your opinion, and then he just repeats what he just said again anyway. Nobody wants Donald Trump to lose the election more than Alvin Bragg, the irony. See, I don't follow that stuff, but I see that said a lot, and all I can think of is it kind of just, it makes me feel like I think there's people that focus on Donald Trump a lot, and they make no forward progress, but they talk about Donald Trump, and it gets them reelected, right? And all I can think of is that type of person would be the same exact person that would waste time taking a case like this to court to trial. like, just be more productive. Just, why did you have to take this Jonathan Majors case to trial? It started with something like, what, it was 6 different charges, and 3 of them had 3 different counts. Because they were trying to do a count. I don't know what the third one was for all of them, but I'm presuming one was for the ear, one was for the finger. My guess is that the third was for some bump on the head or something on the neck. No idea, because on the court website, everything was gatekept because it was treated as a special victims case because it was an intimate partner. So you couldn't really click in and see any of the specific details. But yeah, it's like, seeing a comment like this, all I can think of is this is someone that focuses something to put time into that's high profile, and it ends up being a stupid waste of time, all just for some type of clout. And I think it's amazing that she's partying this hard because she does not know that her relationship is over. I think that if she had known, she would have been straight to the apartment. And it's weird because he said he was leaving and was going to the hotel. This is actually one of the moments where there's a difference between someone that drinks a lot and maybe on their way to being an alcoholic, or someone that socially is always down for a drink, but they don't actually suffer from alcoholism. But I'm also wondering if at that moment in time, because she said she tried to see if the bar on the side of the street near car 2 was still open. She wanted to walk in there right then and there and get a drink and have the friends that had a party to go to come get a drink with her. I'm wondering if one of the reasons she was so happy to go party was that draw to have alcohol. Maybe they weren't keeping alcohol in the apartment, which is, I think, I did some speculation on this, but thinking about September 2022, I'm thinking they didn't have alcohol in the house at that time. So by day 3 or 4 of their breakup fight, between the headphones and the pub friend and the Coretta Scott King recording, we know that they broke up. He said, get your stuff and go. By day 3, 4, if she's back there, if they've reconciled, they're hanging out, but there's no alcohol in the house, they're arguing, she could be having, it could be 2-3 days that she has an alcohol, and it could really be coming forth. So I think in this moment, yeah, he went to the hotel, and the only reason I think she was willing to not freak out about that was because she was about to go have a drink. And that's beyond just someone that socially is always down for a drink. That's a little bit more than that. Are you saying Grace Jabbari is an inconsistent witness? No. Yeah, consistently a liar. Daredevil in the next series. And she came to the US and just went balls to the wall. Ain't no way she could hold a cigarette with that bruised knuckle. Unless she was like holding it, well, no, because then you'd still usually typically, if you're holding it weird like this, I mean, you're clenching these fingers. And then that part, she absolutely couldn't hold a cigarette like that. I feel they were holding the judge's puppies in a basement somewhere until the trial was over. Kelly Galloway, give the puppies back. So she took pics with Chloe. I didn't know that. Were the photos used in court for evidence? So apparently one of them was introduced on direct, and they were asking her, like, do you see anything wrong with your finger here? Do you see any redness? And she was like, yeah, I see it. So I would love to see the picture myself. And then she was feeling no pain at this point. Maybe that was a little bit valid because of all the alcohol, but if it was a bad break, alcohol can only do so much. I figured it out while she was setting up the scene to act, as if she was moving with the candle, and look, the suitcase closed on her finger, and that is how she got the injury. That's possible because that's an old-fashioned, I'm assuming you saw how the suitcase looks, so what Rosemary's referring to, it's like an old-fashioned chest suitcase, the kind that you buckle with the metal buckles, and it's big, and it's sitting propped up, so if she, and that would also make sense why she projects. I don't think she heard Majors trip over a suitcase. It doesn't make sense because it's still open in the body cam footage. But if she had knocked into it and bumped it and it shut down on her, like you're suggesting, it would make sense why that idea was in her head to say to Holly later at 11:07 in the morning. So you've got me thinking about two things there. But that's true. That's a heavier type of suitcase. So, and it was a top fracture. The type of fracture it was the top of the bone. So if her hand was like this and the suitcase closes on it, that's where it would be. I just wonder why it would only be her one finger that was impacted. Unless it was far enough forward. Like maybe it was like all the way here. And then like she really hit her head. The wording doesn't know justice. I can't get over that. And like honestly, she could have played it off like because it kind of looked like the DJ booth had like rubber, like soft padding around it. So, I mean, she could have been like, I didn't really bump it. She's like, I put my head down and it happened to be right there. But she just flat out denied it. So, but you know, the jury might not have been able to see us on the internet. We can go back and replay it. They weren't interested in replaying that video clip. So, if she can dance with a broken toe, she can dance with with a rack up huge. She would never have to pay for with a broken fingertip. I mean, this is in Soho too, so I don't know. You ever go and like order a drink that you normally drink anywhere, or like a shot of something that you normally get anywhere, but you're somewhere else. You're on vacation, and then you go and pay for your shot. Maybe it's two people. You're doing shots for two. And your shots that normally cost you $15 are suddenly costing you like 60 just because of the place that you're at. But you're on vacation, so you're like, well, forget it. Who cares? I guess it's the same thing when you're using someone else's credit card. It's annoying me that they don't give a reason for their objections, and he automatically says, I think they might be giving a reason for the objection, but they're just not transcribing them, which sucks. And then all this hand evidence meant nothing to the juror who heard the ICE testimony from a drunk witness. I agree. And I'm telling you, the only reason Priya Chaudhry's asking it is because she knew that Jabbari had said it. So I have no doubt that the prosecution asked Chloe about ICE in April, and Chloe could be remembering just because she heard something about ICE at some point. Oh, I have the wrong comment up. Look at me. But yeah, Chill was saying all this ICE. Chill! And asking a question about ICE. That's so ironic. So all this hand evidence meant nothing to that juror who heard the ICE testimony from a drunk witness. And she should have asked if her hand hurt. I think they tried to ask one point and they sustained it. They tried to ask about pain and they're like, oh, move on. And then Tracker says, got to get the big, scary, melanated celebrity man for something, so you have to have a story to tell for the rest of your life. All right, let me pull up this picture and we can look at it. And we're gonna see if we think that there's marks on neck that look like hands or something else. And let me actually save it. That way I'm not putting your email on blast or anything. And then yeah, shout out to Chill and Pam. I just did a new description like on the fly, but usually I have them pasted. But Chillmonger is really easy to find. Pam, you have to type Pam Entertainment TV. It can be different words, but if you just type Pam, you might get a lot of Pams. But this Pam, Pam Entertainment TV, is the Pam that we want to follow. So go follow Pam Entertainment TV. And then self-entitled much disgraced Jabbari. Tracker asks, Chill, did you bring your husband tonight? And Chill says he's stuck in traffic. There was a blonde that obstructed the road. Shut up. That deal to not press charges was because it would have interfered with her visa. She's an opportunist. You guys are crazy. And Pam says she would have registered the pain involuntarily. Stuffing things in her wallet, she would have registered the pain, shaking her hand. And that's what I'm saying, like, her purse looked full to the brim. Like, and that's why it's like, you have all that stuff in the purse. Oh, maybe that's why she didn't care about losing her purse. Because it was Jonathan Major's credit card in there. Like, it wasn't her own shit. It was his. Uh, this lady. This lady, Grace Jabbari. Let me see. I don't even know how to pull up a picture on StreamYard. So I really like Streamlabs better, but it's not great for having guests on, so. I don't know. I'm bad at this. It like doesn't want to open. So we'll do it like this. So yeah, I mean, I see these dinky little gray lines here that like to me they're too straight to just be a bruise from someone's hand. They do not make sense to me as being something from someone's fingers on your neck. To me, it looks like you rubbed against something and either there was dust on that structure, so the shape of that structure, the dust that gathered on it is coming off on your neck, or you have the very initial markings of something there. But I don't see, like, you can't make me see that that was someone's hand doing something to your neck. See, but I'm confused about like seeing something by her jawline too, unless you mean like further up on the cheek. But they said that they have no reports from the hospital that there were any like scratches or anything like that here. All right, have a good one, Tanya. Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, like I don't like why wouldn't this be in the reports from anything from the hospital? Like Dr. Shang doesn't know about it and it wasn't in anything else. Like it doesn't make sense to me. So I don't know if you guys have other theories. I don't know about her sleeping on shutters, but I get the reference that it's striated like that. Um, yeah, her shirt is green and reflecting off her skin. I mean, that's possible too. Or maybe not even that, but I don't know. I don't think this picture is like even that great quality. So there's so much that it could be, and it could be hard to interpret because it's not even a high resolution. And that's weird because the cop was taking it like right here. He wasn't that far away. Oh, like maybe was it tile flooring on the floor? Oh, yeah, because if it was heated, it should be tile. Ew. So they move into a $10 million penthouse apartment and the grout's dirty. That's gross. And it looks like the makeup mascara may have ran down her. Oh my God, if she was crying like a banshee. And she was just going like, oh my God, that really could be like cry mascara, and then she didn't wash it off because she doesn't look in the mirror. No, I think this is it. I think this is really on it. And yeah, I think the quality is poor of the pictures. And then in the live video, police cam, you can see the police officer rubbing her necklace up against her skin before those pictures were taken. And you know that's true if it's maybe it's fake gold. Like, and it has that like, and I'm not laughing at fake or costume jewelry at all, but just, I'm just laughing because it's Grace, really. But that green that can kind of happen with fake jewelry. If she was like sweating all night at the club, that's another option too. That it's not a mark from being the rubbing of a necklace specifically. It's the green that's transferring off of the necklace when it's being rubbed against the neck there. Why was he? Why was the police officer rubbing her necklace up against her skin? What was he doing? He rubbed it a few times and then he took the picture and it had red lines. Yeah, that's actually good to... Okay. So to me, that seems like green is rubbing off and then red from it, the actual rubbing starts to appear. So there's probably some fake greenery going on in this jewelry. And I noticed the ring she's wearing that night, that clunky green ring. Well, I think it's actually her right hand. So, because it's on the same one as her injured hand. But that clunky ring, she's worn in other pictures. So if she wears the same jewelry over and over and it's fake, if this necklace specifically is fake, it would have had the time to get that green stuff to start building up in the chain links. So I think that's it. Although I think the mascara one is good too, because she had that weird testimony about like, I was looking in the mirror with 2 mirrors. Oh, but then I didn't look in the mirror at all that night, so I don't know about washing my face. I don't need a mirror to do it. But she could have been crying and rubbed a little bit of mascara she had on, smeared it down to her neck, and then not washed it off of her neck because she didn't look. She just probably looked under her eyes. So, but yeah, and the thing is, like, whatever it was helped legitimize the strangulation charge. If she remembers how her finger got twisted behind her arm and bent, and she remembers how her ear got cut, and she remembers how her head got bumped, in that moment, it was her and nobody else that would say, yes or no, he put his hands around my throat. So, I'm not saying that they didn't try to suggest that she say it, but I'm saying that she didn't say that she knew otherwise. So, either she didn't know what happened to her, and it should not be considered evidence when she comes along and says, I know that he caused my injuries. I know that he twisted my arm and twisted my finger. I know that he's the one that cut my ear. You either don't know, and that's why you can get a free pass on saying this thing about your throat, or you're saying that you know, and you're lying because you didn't actually do that to your throat, because there's no proof of it. There's no actual injuries that back up a real strangulation. Like, to me, it's a catch-22 for her, and the jury's dumb for not seeing it. Oh, like a textured sofa. Yeah, but I don't think she was sleeping unless, unless maybe she had like the jumper bunched up when she was laying down. But at the same time, I don't really know how long she would have been laying on the ground because she's doing things at 11:07. And then finger, green ring on sore finger. How? But yeah, I know there's a lot of like confusing things going on with this girl. What was their explanation for dropping the strangulation charge? She came and corrected the statement, and she said that she like basically, and this isn't completely unusual, but the officer was the first one that said, I observed, or the defendant told me, whatever, and he signed off. He was the one that provided the first complaint. Then when they finalized the second complaint, they took that language out and changed it. It was at a hearing with Rachel S. Pauley where that was announced, I want to say in April, and the language of the complaint changed, and Grace Jabbari signed the second complaint. And at that point, that's when I knew that she was the accuser. It wasn't just like a house call, and she didn't want, in the text messages for the ones that Priya released after this all happened, she says, they do not have my blessing for any of these charges, and I told them absolutely you did not strangle me. After she goes to the hospital and they don't find any signs of strangulation, she does in fact tell Kelly Galloway, take the strangulation charge off. She testifies to this in trial. But she never actually counters the other charges at all. Even though she's texting Jonathan Majors, I told them none of these charges. They don't have my blessing on any of it. So she lies in the text message to Majors on March 25th about these charges. But she testified, and it seems consistent to say that even though she told people and may have signed a statement saying that there was strangulation, he had grabbed her throat, it does seem like she was the one that said, I want that corrected. I don't want that on there. I want a new complaint. I want to write a new statement. And she wrote something new with everything else in it. And she also added the language about, what did she add? She added her finger story at this point. This is where I think she attributes it to the twisting and the pulling. Because whatever, I can go back and actually research this, and I can pull up a new video. It might have been in the original video that I did where I talked about the change in the complaint language. But she added some detail because in Jonathan Major's affidavit, he states, I think maybe it was something to do with a bump in the head or a bruise on her right arm or something. But because he has always said flat out, I picked her up and tried to put her back in the car because she was jumping out into moving traffic, and I just want her to get it back in the car so I could go away. They took that and they added that to the complaint because she didn't initially allege anything about that. And then Priya got mad and was like, Your Honor, why are you letting them add to the complaint? Because they only got that. It's not coming from their own witness. They're just adapting the charges to this affidavit. So it was a complicated mess because you can't actually go and read any transcripts about those pretrial hearings. And the complaints are largely under seal. The initial complaint from Officer Swain was released through People magazine, but that was it. So, but yeah, I personally think that they had not gotten caught coaching her on camera, it wouldn't have been dismissed. Didn't work for Porter's alleged accuser while she was saying she was never attacked. Yeah, so the difference with Kevin Porter Jr., though, is they never have any signed signature from Kaiser agreeing to or signing something where someone else wrote a statement that she says she was grabbed around the throat. In that case, that all came because of an eavesdropper from the prosecution's office that was down at the hospital overhearing the doctor mention something about a congenital defect, which I'm not even sure is a congenital defect because Kaiser and Calabria were both in a really bad car wreck. They were in like neck braces together. So it could be something not congenital but chronic. Like it's something that's lasting for life now because it was a bad wreck involving her spinal, some part of her vertebrae. But this prosecutor, this person from the prosecution's office overheard it, put it into the charges, and it got into the news media because when they read the charges out in open court, the reporters there heard it, ran with it like wildfire, and there was never any fracture in the neck. There was no strangulation. With the Majors case, I think we do actually have a witness that said she was strangled. Something happened with her throat, and not only gestured that and agreed to it before she was taken to the hospital, she also signed a statement where it was included. So, big difference. It puts a lot more accountability on Jabbari for that strangulation charge even existing in the first place. Whereas I don't think that the accountability can be placed on Kaiser. I think that's entirely on the DA's office. And then, oh my stars, she lied to Jonathan after getting him arrested. Yeah, because she was still hoping, because the last thing he had said to her was, did you leave the keys? Goodbye, Grace. And she was like, please call me. She's like, I told them the fight started because I was trying to grab your phone. And that's another thing. She says, trying to grab your phone, which implies what? That you didn't actually successfully grab it. Which is, what did he say during his GMA interview? We scuffled over it, but she never actually got it. But yeah, she stated he didn't strangle her. Well, she had to, because, I mean, that's a way more egregious charge. A strangulation charge. Because, I mean, his bottom level charges by the time trial started was what, 3rd degree assault? I mean, strangulation, you're looking at felony. Like, you could be looking at felony there. So, and was there an explanation for dropping the string? Yeah, so that was a confusing mess. And then it's she. So we're going back to these marks on her neck, and the final answer is, nah, she's just dirty. And then, yes, it looks like a baby wipe would clear it up. You guys are great. I love you guys. Remember, her manager never mentioned seeing bruising to the neck. So that's another thing. I would actually really like to have Ben Toddy's testimony. I don't understand how the jury understood that there is no way that he cut her ear, but decides absolutely yes that he broke her finger. If they believe she lied about the ear, why would they believe? Okay, guys, I'm gonna be honest. So the counts, each of the counts might have had some incident or time frame attached to it, but the charges themselves will read on or about this time. Did any of these actions occur? Right? So the shoving, the word shoving, pushing, the whatever, grabbing, bodily contact, whatever it lists out, even if it was specified that, hey, you're supposed to consider this charge within this time frame, what happened in the car and what happened right outside the car, in the car door, spilling out into the street, is so proximal in time span that the jury could have made their decision on those two charges for any which injury or any which action. I don't think it's fair for anyone to say, I don't think it's precise for anyone to conclude entirely that the charges that they decided to convict him on were pertaining to a specific injury. I just don't think we have any way to know that unless a juror comes out and says, hey, this is what we deliberated about, and we had decided, for example, that finger looked really bad, so we don't think there's anything that she could have done that night that would have caused such a bad injury except for in the middle of a tussle. And we don't think he intended to hurt her, but we decided reckless for the finger. Or it could be reckless because he was picking up, not because he bumped her head even, but just because he was picking her up. And the word shoving is a word listed in the type of charge. So with juries can kind of decide what they want sometimes. If you guys ever want to go down a rabbit hole, look up jury nullification cases that are either known because of jury interviews, or it's speculated that the verdict was a jury nullification case. It's a really, really contentious topic in legal spaces. But juries can kind of decide things without it following the exact instructions of what they're supposed to do. And it seems like in this case they weren't completely clear anyway. And then Sheet says, as strong as Dude is, those marks would be more pronounced. Yeah, I agree. And especially she tried to emphasize, like, it was hard, he was strong, he was grand. And then, yeah, when they asked for clarification, account. Yeah, so, they don't really know. Let me switch back over to these transcripts. And then we were leaving off. We just finished talking about the selfies. They go to lunch. Jabbari comes back in. They remind her she's under oath. And then what are they doing here? The associate says 49:52. I think there's a colon missing there, and we're at 49 minutes in. So that would mean the defense's compilation is almost 50 minutes long. If it keeps going, it's going to exceed 50 minutes. Miss Jabbari, that's you entering. You took a cab straight from the nightclub to the apartment, correct? Yes. That's you entering, correct? Yes. We just saw you put your right hand into the pocket of your coat, correct? Either my bag or my coat. That's you walking through the lobby, correct? Yes. There's a doorman sitting there, correct? Yes. That's you getting into the elevator, and you just push the elevator button with your right hand, correct? My right thumb, yes. You're holding the keys in your right hand, correct? I believe so. So your fingers are curled around the keys? Objection. If you know, I don't know. Like, they never even let her, whatever. Your fingers are curled around your keys. I feel like the prosecution can just object on speculation because it's safe to say, whether true or not, there's more than a 50-50 chance that Jabbari is going to say, I don't know. So they can preempt that and make this objection for speculation, and then Jabbari will naturally go along with it because she's going to say, I don't know. I don't really know. I can't recall. And then the judge is just going to be like, yeah, that's speculation then if you don't know. So it must be nice having a bunch of attorneys in your family. Your fingers are curled around your keys, correct? I'm holding the key with my thumb and index finger. The way you're holding it right now? Yeah. Let the record reflect the witness is holding her hand up with her thumb and the rest of her fingers curled. I think her index finger was curled and the rest of the fingers were extended. She actually adjusted it as I was reading it out for the court. Ooh. So she's playing games. Which one was it? Let's make sure. Just show us exactly. I had the keys held and my hand was just relaxed like that. It wasn't grasped, as you could see. Oh my god, this is why I wish we had cameras in the courtroom. Miss Jabbari, you walked out of the elevator, down to the hallway, and into the apartment, correct? She's throwing up gang signs in the court. Correct. She's at the jury, like, convict him of something. And the next time you left the apartment was with the police and the paramedics, correct? Correct. Miss Jabbari, you talked about what you did when you arrived home at the apartment, correct? Yes. You mentioned that you had taken your coat off and taken your shoes off, right? Yes. And you were wearing high boots, correct, that night? Medium height, I guess. Not high. I don't know what you mean. I mean, you could see the heel in that blurry surveillance video while you were chasing him, so... I mean, them things had to be like 2 inches at least, which isn't that high, but... How high up on your legs do your boots come? Not the heel size, the length of the boot? Yes. Should I show you my leg? Oh my god, she's lifting her leg up for that first juror. She's gonna pull her leg up onto the stand and say, hey, juror number 1. So yes, maybe about to the leg where my ankle strap is. Let the record reflect the witness indicated just above her ankle. Is that correct? So indicated. And you also testified about, once you returned home, being in a lot of physical pain, is that right? Yes. In the sense of, I knew I was in pain. I knew I was just going to wake up in pain, just knowing how bodies work. But I was upset more with the infidelity. And this is the apartment that you had been living in for about 3 months, right? Yeah, I would say about 3 months. And your clothes were in this apartment? Correct. Correct? I'm sorry. Your clothes were in this apartment? Yes. And the bathroom upstairs in which you were found contained your personal hygiene products, right? My toiletries, like that stuff? Yes. Yes. And you testified about taking the blue sleeping pills, right? Yes. And you said these were pills that were already in your apartment, right? Yes. And you had taken them on several other occasions, right? Yes. And these were blue pills in a white bottle, correct? I believe so. And they were just over-the-counter generic pills, right? Not over-the-counter, just on-the-shelf pills from CVS. I'll be fair. Maybe that's a thing that's an American term. Because to us, over-the-counter means we can just pull them off the shelf and don't need a prescription. But maybe she literally thinks over-the-counter means you have to, like, let someone get it from the back for you and hand it to you and check your ID for it. So, but I'll forgive her. Maybe that's just a British-American disconnect there. Yes, you didn't need a prescription for them, right? No, anyone could buy them, I think. I'm handing you what's been marked for identification as Defense Exhibit 138, 139, and 140. If we can make sure we don't show the jury. Ms. Jabbari, do you recognize what's in defense? What's been marked as Defense Exhibit 138, 139, and 140? Yes. What is that? I believe that's the sleeping tablets. I haven't seen them since that night, so I think so. You had taken them previously, correct? Yes. Yeah. Do these photographs depict the sleeping tablets you took that night? I believe so, yes. I didn't take these photos. She knew right away to say she didn't take them. At this time, I offer what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 138, 139, and 140 into evidence. Any objection? Couple of questions, Judge. So, Perez gets up to voir dire. Ms. Jabbari, do you know whether these are the exact type of sleeping pills? I don't know. Let me just ask, because are they pills or bottles? Let me give you a copy. So they give the judge a copy. Does this pill bottle contain the pills you took? I didn't take this photo. So they look similar. I feel it impossible to say this is 100% them because I did not take this photo. If that is okay to say. Okay, I'm gonna put this in the chat so you guys can keep looking at it even when I scroll. Does this sound like natural wording to you of someone who's just genuinely answering the question with no intention behind answering the question a certain way? Or does it sound like someone with an intention to answer a question a certain way, such as maybe to not lay foundation for a picture to come into the jury? So you can't say for sure this is a fair and accurate depiction of the, well, first the bottle that holds the pills. It looks what I think is the same, but again, it's hard. I didn't take the photos, but they were blue pills I took, and if these are from CVS, then that's right, because I definitely just got them from CVS. And then Perez, but you don't know when this picture was taken? No, no idea. All right, Judge, I would object. What grounds? They haven't laid the proper foundation that these are, speaking specifically to Defense Exhibit 139, that this is the same bottle of a similar type of pill that was even taken. That's the same for 138 with regard to 140 as well, Judge. All right, ask more questions. Miss Jabbari, I'm sure Priya's probably like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, oh my god. So, Miss Jabbari, the pills that you took that night, do you know what the dosage was of those pills? No, just like whatever the legal dose, I guess, of getting something from the counter. I probably got something like a melatonin, something like that. That would be my guess. If you could look at what's in Defense Exhibit 140, what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 140, and you look at do the pills in that resemble the pills that you say you've taken several times? Yeah, they look very similar. As I said, I didn't take the photos. They could be any blue pill. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. What about the opening of the bottle on the top? Do you... She's just like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's like you're asking someone a casual question. Just like, yeah. What about the opening of the bottle on the top? Do you recognize that? Yes, it's a typical screw top opening. Sorry, the actual tear in the silver covering of the bottle. Do you recognize that? Not particularly, I don't. Do you recall the name of the pills that you took? Do you recall what the name of the pills that you took are? No. As I said, just whatever the sleeping, well, yeah, like sleep aid tablets are there. But wherever that version is, these are from CVS. And I could find it on a receipt, you know what I mean? I don't want to say 100%, or whatever the CVS ones are. The judge is like, come up, whereupon a discussion is had at the bench. Hold on. I'm going to read some of these chats because I feel crazy here. What are we saying here? All right, so I think it's a little bit before the pill conversation, but she was fighting him for the phone and hurt herself swinging on him in the car. He only tried to get away from her in the car. I totally agree. It makes a lot more sense that way. Antoinette, I think she did it when the finger got caught in the coat pocket. I think that's actually really when the finger injury hurt, because something had to have happened. If you saw an X, I posted the pictures to highlight. She has a mark under the middle fingernail of her injured finger that shows her finger was bent back. Like, it's apparent. And I can't imagine anyone in this chat hasn't bent their finger back before. But there's a mark underneath it when you do that, and that mark is there on her finger. And she tries to say, it's from the shellac on the top surface of the nail. But a marking on the top of a nail is different than something that's underneath and where the skin connects to the nail. But, you know, who knows? And look at you representing. I appreciate you. Your Honor, objection. Jabbari's 4-day testimony is speculation. Literally the whole thing is like kind of like maybe, I don't know, you know? Hey, Silent. I think you're a little late, so if you're behind, you'll probably hear this later if you're starting from the beginning. How does she know how bodies work, but not what a rotator cuff is? You don't need to ask for Tylenol PM in England. I bought them there. But do you call it like, if you say over the counter, do you like, is that a familiar term? Is that something that's commonly used there? Because I was just thinking maybe that terminology isn't the same. And then what's your thoughts on the Hulu? Oh, I thought the Hulu version of the interview was great. I thought it was fine. And yeah, Buckmeyer was great. I actually thought everyone that there was the other guy too, that commented that I thought was good too. That's the actual statement. It's basically an antihistamine. An active ingredient is well, I'm not diphenhydramine. That one didn't seem that hard to say, but I don't know if I got it right anyway. And then if her parents and sisters weren't lawyers, she would have crumbled under the pressure. Yeah, like, that's all this sounds like to me. It sounds like insanity. Jabroni, come on, man. If they're blue, they're diphenhydramine with a painkiller. Okay, I get what you're saying. So the pills she normally takes contain painkillers. Her choice of regular, casual, 2-a-day sleeping pills to sleep regularly that she says she takes for work, but she's taking them when she's not working. She takes 2 a day. It's the blue. She typically buys these for casual use. Are sleepy and painkiller. And then in September, she has trouble sleeping and needs stronger painkillers. Because her regular sleeping pills aren't sedative enough. They're not killing the pain enough. See, these September text messages to me have only gotten less credible the more I look into this case and the way she acts. And then to find out something like this, and this is why I love having you guys here as a group to piece these details together, because I don't know all of this. But Hypatia, am I saying that right? If they're blue, they've got a painkiller. Now, all of you in the chat, put that in the context of those September text messages that the door was open to come into the trial, where she says she's having trouble sleeping and needs a stronger painkiller. She wants to get new pills. This is what she regularly takes, 2 a day, these blue pills, to sleep casually. And then, yeah, melatonin doesn't look like that. And I thought it was interesting that she tried to mention that. It's like she knew where it was going. Because if it was melatonin, there'd be no reason if it was like spilled over for it to. Because if this picture doesn't get in front of the judge and the jury, it's not going to be a picture of blue pills sitting in front of them. They're going to know that they're debating about some picture and that she's taken blue pills to sleep before. But she's saying, no, I don't know about this bottle. And I don't know if those are the ones that I took. They could just make the conclusion then that, hey, we can't see this photo, but she doesn't recognize them. And she said something about melatonin. So maybe it was melatonin that was spilled and, wasn't something that could have a major overdose risk. So she knew what she was trying to prevent coming in. But yeah, she's not taking this seriously at all. And the thing is, that's what makes me think that the prosecution was really helping her above and beyond, because otherwise she would have to take it seriously because she wouldn't have had someone protecting her. And if she didn't have someone protecting her, there would have been risks to her because she engaged in unlawful imprisonment by not letting someone leave the car 2 different times. She testified that she was not letting someone leave the car. Harassment, calling someone 32 times, any which way you want to figure out how the attacks happened, she attacked him in car 2. She tries to say he pushed her as if to justify anything else, but that doesn't make sense. If he pushed her and he was in the 3rd seat, 3rd row, and she was in the 2nd row, the only way she would have been in the way to prevent him getting out, because she said he pushes her to get out of the car. It would have been if she got out of her seat and was blocking the way for him to go out the right side of the car. So there would have been those charges for that. Then we also have the issue of the broken property because of his button, and then the missing Rolexes. So there would have been risks to her if the prosecution wasn't helping her out. And because the prosecution was helping her, she gets to not take this seriously because she's protected. And it's just crazy to see. Man, maybe Jonathan should have gotten Paltrow's lawyers for the... I didn't really watch that case, so I don't actually know. I mean, I know she won. And I know, people were, enjoying the case, so I'm sure that could be a valid... But then again, that was civil, so you never know. I saw the mark on the nail. Could be the nail getting pulled back. Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know. It just seems like if you were ripping the pocket and the fabric, you're, kind of ripping, clawing to pull him back. You're, going like this. It could be that something caught the little nail part and just went and then you have this nasty little pullback line there. And hell, I'm starting to think that the jury could have convicted him for being with the just like, man, you're dumb. You deserve a charge just because you put out, like, you didn't know better. Let me quantify it with an I believe. She knew she answered so nonchalantly like that because she knew she had that immunity. Yep. Very entitled and felt like she had won at that point already. It's hard to get a lot of this stuff. In Germany, no idea about. Okay, yeah, so. And Benadryl. Wait, what are we talking? I know Benadryl can make you sleepy. But yeah, there's just so much, like, in this case, man. We could talk about inconsistencies for days, I feel like. Tylenol makes an actual sleep aid called Sleepy Sleep. It's a white bottle and blue pills. So, and I think, you know, in pharmaceuticals, I think they probably try to, it would make sense, right, for consumer safety if you try to keep the same theme across the board. So if the Sleepy Sleep is a painkiller and a sleeping pill combined, you put it as the similar blue familiar look. That way it's more clear. There's clarity to the consumer about what it is that they're taking, you know, to avoid that, oh, if I take the blue pill, I shouldn't go drive because I know that that's something that's gonna, you know, I'll be sleepy, I'll be fatigued, I shouldn't be driving. So she knows she doesn't want the jury to figure out that she took these blue pills and then tried to leave them spilled because that's something that could have a painkiller in it, which becomes a bigger overdose risk if she, in theory, were to take a lot of those. She is the full embodiment of recklessness, like literally sprinting down in her 2-inch heels. The more I see, the more I think he should have testified. I wonder if he, like, started to make that decision, if he changed it at the end, but the thing is, she wouldn't have been able to be called back on rebuttal if she was back. I mean, maybe, but there would have been an issue. If she went back to England, then you can't call her back up to, like, question her about certain things. And maybe that would have been beneficial for the defense, but I don't know. I think trial strategy was interrupted because of the way the judge decided not to let the information about her arrest come in. And they wouldn't have figured that out until Detective Mejia got done testifying. And then, what did they have, one witness after him? Just, was it Detective Mejia and then the wound expert, so Tammy Weiner, and then Elon Rispoli. So there wasn't much left. It was like all one day. So if they had decided after the Detective Mejia thing, like, oh shit, they didn't let us talk about the arrest. Majors, do you want to go on the stand? They actually rested that day, I think. So it was probably too late to shift gears in trial strategy. Yep. Yep, and I, you know, maybe that'll end up being a blessing in disguise for him because it could be a huge appellate issue. And what do you think, guys? If there was actually an appeal that was heard and they said, hey, we're going to reverse this because, you know, this was a crazy Brady violation, do the trial again. What would you think a trial 2 would be like for Jabbari testifying? Just share your thoughts on that. And then let's see, where was I? I know we're talking about these blue pills somewhere. Oh yeah, what about the opening? The typical screw top opening. Sorry, the actual tear in the silver covering of the bottle. Do you recognize that? Not particularly, I don't. Do you recall what the name of the pills that you took are? No, as I said, just whatever the sleeping, well, yeah, like sleep aid tablets are there. But whatever that version is, these are from CVS, and I could find it on a receipt, you know what I mean? I don't want to say 100% or whatever the CVS ones are. So then they're doing the sidebar. You can set those down. Miss Jabbari, those pills that you did take were in the medicine cabinet of the bathroom attached to the master bedroom on the 3rd floor, correct? Yeah, I keep all my vitamins in the same place. And this is the same bathroom that's attached to the closet in which the police found you. Is that right? Yeah. And you testified that you were having trouble sleeping. Yeah, because then why are the pills outside of the... Why are the pills outside of the bathroom then? And you testified that you were having trouble sleeping because you were in so much pain, right? I was really upset. He wouldn't answer the phone. You testified you were having trouble sleeping because you were in so much pain. So when she's asked about pain, what's the first thing out of her mouth? I was really upset. He wouldn't answer the phone. I was upset. And then when I lay down, it was really painful. Yeah, that's right. And you testified that the reason that you took sleeping pills is because it was too painful for you to get comfortable, correct? Oh, doesn't that sound like September 2022 text messages? What do you think? Yeah. Okay. And you previously testified that you couldn't sleep due to the physical pain you were in. Is that right? Correct. Yes. And yet, so what's her version of pain? I was really upset. He wouldn't answer the phone. I couldn't sleep. Oh, and you took the pills because you couldn't sleep. It was too painful for you to sleep, correct? This girl needs sedatives. That's what this girl has a problem with. Yeah, okay. And you previously testified that you couldn't sleep due to the physical pain you were in. Is that right? Correct. Yes. And actually, I want to see. I'm going to look up these CVS blue pills. I'm going to call them sleeping pills. Because is it like acetaminophen? Let's see. CVS sleep tablets. Because what's the contraindication with alcohol for whatever painkiller is in these CVS sleeping pills? Okay, so they have a bunch of different ones. There's one CVS brand that says acetaminophen PM, which sounds like the sleepy sleep. And those are 220. Wait, that's not the milligrams, that's the count. 500 milligrams. But how much? Oh my god, so these sleep pills have 500 milligrams. The first ones that came up. Maybe that's not the exact one she bought. But each pill has 500 milligrams. So if she took 2, that's 1,000 milligrams. If she only took 2, that's 1,000 milligrams of acetaminophen while you're drinking. And you drink regularly. The September text messages, people. So, and you previously testified that you couldn't sleep due to the physical pain you were in. Is that right? Correct. Yes. And yet you didn't go into your medicine cabinet and take any pain medications, right? Objection. Overruled. I don't recall whether I did or didn't. So you may have also taken separate painkillers? I potentially did when I woke up, but not in that moment. I think that was a bad question for her to just say, I don't know, I don't believe to. When would that have been? When I was awake from being woken up by the pain. So potentially when you woke up from the pain is what time? Around 7 or something like that, I think. So as you're texting your friend Holly, your testimony is now that you went and got pain medication. Objection, just rephrase that. Is this the same time that you were texting your friend Holly? No, it would have been, yeah, I can't remember a specific time. I can't remember specifically, didn't take a pain medication. But in general, when I was in pain, I would have taken pain medication. In general, I would have taken pain medication. She also said in general she takes sleeping pills. But you have no specific memory of taking pain medication. Yeah, I couldn't specify this exact time, and if I 100% did, so yeah, sorry. And you don't remember taking it before you went to sleep, right? Correct. And you didn't take any pain medication to help you get to sleep, even though you were in pain, is that right? That's correct. So now it's correct, now she knows. And you didn't tell the district attorney at any point that you took, objection, pain medications that morning, did you? Objection, sustained. You had met with the DA's office in order to give information about this case, haven't you? I'm sorry, can you say that again? You had met with the district attorney's office several times regarding this case, right? Yeah. And in many of those interviews, they asked you what actually happened, right? Yes. And you never told them that you took any pain medication. Objection, sustained. Did you tell them? Sustained. Objection. You didn't tell any of the medics you took pain medication. Objection, same grounds. Sustained. Rephrase it. Did you tell the medics that you had taken pain medication? Objection, sustained. Did you tell, when asked at Bellevue what you had taken, you told them you had 5 to 6 glasses of wine, correct? I don't recall what I told them. You did tell them about your alcohol consumption, right? I don't recall the conversation about that. Do you recall going to Bellevue? Yes. And do you recall telling them that you took 2 objection sleeping tablets? Rephrase that question. At Bellevue, when you were being examined, you told the doctors that you took 2 blue sleeping tablets, correct? Yes. Well, I would have. As I said, I don't really recall the conversations at Bellevue. I was really overwhelmed. The doctor, but you signed statements. You made signed statements. Like, tell me if I'm crazy over here, but this girl, it seems like she takes pills all the time. Like, I don't think she'd come back for another trial, to be honest. That would be too funny. For some reason, I think Kat's Grace impersonation is very accurate. Well, I'm not going to try to do the accent. I'm not going to try to do it. It makes cirrhosis worse, kills the liver to drink, and takes acetaminophen, aka Tylenol. People have died from it. Yeah, and there's even issues now, like, you know how, like, people are trying to drink healthier teas? And there are some certain warnings on teas, like, if you have liver problems, talk with a doctor before you drink this tea. And it can compound because people will drink tea when they feel sick, but then they'll also take acetaminophen and certain things that are in certain teas now, these big super health brew teas, it's messing with people's livers. So I know cirrhosis is I don't think it takes that long to get to the point of having liver damage or liver toxicity, because liver toxicity can be acute, not just chronic. And the way it sounds like she used to drink, she could have been well on her way to a chronic problem. A retrial will also depend on the judge. In this transcript, it's clear the judge steered this trial towards GJ and not JM. If she testifies and makes it a proper interpreter for the driver who says the proper thing of trying to get away from her, and Jonathan testified, yeah, you know, it's hard to look at that driver's testimony and people say he put her in the car and he witnessed her do that, but you know, it's still a language barrier. And I still don't think it's a big deal that he picked her up and put her in a car, but that's just me. She was trying to stage something thinking he would take her back. And yep, acetamin is bad with alcohol. I think that's why he was saying he didn't want her to go to the hospital. Even if she lied and they have her RX like hydrocodone or anything because she's a category 5 drunk, she's a likely accidental OD. Yeah. Oh my god, can you imagine on some like layered thing if he was, you know how she reacts when he suggests that she drinks too much. It goes into this huge fight. If he suggests you have a drinking problem, you're drinking too much, you're drunk, she flips out, right? So there's this other thing, like, what if he was just trying to prevent her from getting these stronger pills? Like I think you're getting at something good here. Like, she goes and gets stronger pills, but it could end up being deadly for her because she's gonna come home and drink with them. So him preventing her from going and getting medical treatment, aka stronger pills, could have saved her liver. Like, you never know. Are these the questions that brought in the text messages? I don't think the line of questions about the sleeping pills specifically, but I do think the line of questions there is going to come up. I don't think it's going to be involving the sleeping pills. I think it'll be about telling them something else about an injury. If they come in for the sleeping pills, that would be weird because Jonathan Majors never advised her in those text messages to not tell someone she was taking sleeping pills. It's supposed to be pertaining to don't go seek medical treatment when you need medical treatment. She didn't have a general practitioner here, so to get a script, she would have had to go to the ER and con a doctor. So, but I think in September they were in London, but it's also still possible she didn't have a general practitioner then. I mean, she didn't upkeep her apartment. She got rid of her apartment to move in. It costs money to have a general practitioner. And if she was kind of like sort of on her own from her family, and she said she was freelancing, her employer's not providing it, her family might not have been coddling her there, you know? And then, hey, Frank, if you're on replay crew, you might be seeing this way after. If you're watching it in real time live with us, you're hearing it now, so thanks for joining. And then he explained in the interview that she just started texting him that next morning, and he told her it was fake. That makes sense. Yeah, and that's the very first text message the jury gets. They don't see the text message preceding that. So in the GMA interview, Jonathan Majors basically says, hey, we'd broken up in this September 2022 incident, this like 3-4 day fight. We'd broken up. We reconciled. Things were good. We go to sleep that night. I wake up in the morning to these texts, and I'm confused. And I say, what is this? It's fake. So we get, that's that message. He's responding to the messages he's talking about that he received in the morning after everything was good. And then some bullshit just flies out of nowhere. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner with these pills for this girl. And then, yep, exactly. So he was really scared because the signs were there already. Yep. I work in clinical trials. I've seen and heard a lot when it comes to drug comorbidities. Yeah, and I mean, it's another thing that, like, you don't really know how common it is because sometimes it's going to be downplayed by the industry, right? So, and that's why she looks so pasty. Pam's describing, she is giving her characterization of what was happening in that moment in the bathroom closet on March 25th. Take her back, coochie out, pills and vomit, that's a bad scene. She's overrating the power of her coochie. Exactly, Artemis is laughing. Is that like a National Health Service type thing? NHS? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I'm with you on that. He did nothing wrong as the actual victim. And I don't think we should be setting this precedent that you can't just do something to try to safely get away from somebody. The Rock says jabroni is a foul bird. Okay, National Health Service. So, oh my God, just did some quick research. And Daisy is on it. Daisy is pointing out a lot of stuff. Oh my God, just did some quick research. Among the impacts of long-term alcohol consumption is pain. More than half of people with alcohol use disorder experience persistent pain of some type. This includes alcohol neuropathy, which is nerve damage that causes chronic pain and other symptoms. Well, would you look at that? Chronic pain. So, and with alcohol use disorder, a lot of the time, the things that alcohol use disorder can cause become more prominent when alcohol is not currently present in your system. That's when people start needing the hair of the dog. So let's imagine something about September 2022. There's a fight over her being drunk. They fight the day after that fight. He's like, get out. She goes to her friend's house. Maybe she's drinking that day. But then she comes back the day after that. And this is the Coretta Scott King argument. She walks in the house recording immediately. We get a portion of what she records. And they talk about it. And they reconcile eventually. But she doesn't drink that day. And because they're reconciling, and part of the argument is, you're drinking too much, you can't be acting like this. They don't drink that night. Then a whole nother day goes by. They don't drink again. That night, everything's good. They decide, all right, cool. Go to sleep. At that point, that's approaching 2 days with no alcohol. That can be really serious for people that have alcohol use disorder. So, and then, yep, exactly, Daisy. Chronic pain patients exhibit peak drug-seeking behavior. And then, yep, Pam's on it too. We're laughing at Pam's description. Make sure you subscribe to Pam Entertainment TV. If nothing else, tune in for her show intro and her show outro. And it's enjoyable every time she says it. Did we get to the part where Priya opened the door? Not yet. And then right on, Daisy. and withdrawal from alcohol is all bad. So let's get back over here. So at Bellevue, when you were being examined, you told the doctors that you took two blue sleeping tablets, correct? Yes, well, I would have. As I said, I don't really recall the conversations at Bellevue. I was very overwhelmed. The doctor there took notes, correct? I don't know. I'm sorry. Just to be clear, when the police found you in the closet, you were in a lot of pain, right? Yes. Now, you told us that when you woke up, you texted your friend Holly, and then you spoke to her, right? Yes. And we established yesterday at 11:20 a.m., the police find you, and you're in the closet, right? Oh no, she's doing the bathroom thing. Here's another moment. If someone tells you that you need to take her text message literally, when she says something like, oh, I'll just tell him I bumped my head, which, by the way, if someone says, I'll just tell them that I did something, that's suggesting that maybe they didn't actually, you know what I mean? There is no head bump at all. But if we're going to say there's something wrong with her head, if we're going to presume that that means there's actually something physically wrong with her head, and we're just unsure of the reason how it got there, we can't take her word for it anyway, because she's going to call a bathroom and a closet the same thing. So the police find you in the closet. Is there a video where we see her found in the closet, or is there a video where we see her found in the bathroom? But here she is. She's going to say, yeah, between the bathroom and the closet, that area. So she's saying she's in the doorway. You were between the bathroom and the closet? That's what I believed was to be where they found me. Yes. And when the police are calling your name, and the first thing the police say to you is, hello, what is your name, correct? Objection. There's 2 questions there. Just ask one question. The first question the police say to you is, what's your name, correct? Hearsay, judge. That's overruled. This is from what I watched yesterday? Yes. Yes, that's the first question I heard them say on that video, yes. You didn't tell them your name is Grace, right? I didn't answer. And the next thing the police ask you is if you could hear them, right? Officer Swain says, can you hear me, right? And the first thing, she says, I went the wrong way. She says yes. And the first thing you say after the police show up is, I'm confused right now, right? Yes. And this is at 11:20 and 19 milliseconds. So a few seconds after the police come, right? I believe so, yes. Officer Swain then asks you, you don't know why you're here? And you respond, I remember being sick. Isn't that true? Yes. And Officer Swain asked, did you take anything? And you respond, no, just a sleeping tablet. Correct? Correct. And then Officer Swain asks you, did you fall asleep here? And you say, no, I was in the bed, correct? Yes. And then the next thing you say is at 11:21:49 is, my ear hurts so much, correct? I believe so. And then Perez says, can we approach? Sure. You testified that you knew that Mr. Majors was with the police at that time, correct? Objection as to the time, if we could specify. At the time you were being asked these questions, while you were laying on the floor, I knew he was in the vicinity, and there was police around. I don't know his exact whereabouts. But you testified that the reason you were, in your words, alluding to what happened is because Mr. Majors was standing close by, correct? The reason I wasn't telling him initially about him was because I could hear him, and I was scared he would be able to hear what I was saying to them. Well, the next thing you said to them was, my ear hurts so much, correct? Correct. So you're drawing attention to an injury you have, correct? That's correct, yes. And isn't it true that 2 minutes later, at 11:22, you asked the police, what's happening? I don't recall the timing, but I imagine I said what's happening at one point, yes. And isn't it true that in response to Officer Swain asking you, objection sustained? So that's because it's going to be hearsay, because they're about to quote what Officer Swain said. Isn't it true that you said, objection, objection? No, the second part, rephrase the question, that's sustained. Isn't it true that you didn't know whether you had fallen that morning? I did know I hadn't fallen. You told the officer you didn't know whether you had fallen, correct? I remember. Just wait for the sirens to go by. Oh, so there's like sirens outside the courtroom. Then they go ahead. Yeah, I remember saying I don't know what was going on and being very... So she had time to think about this answer to continue. Yeah, I remember saying I don't know what was going on a lot and being very overwhelmed and confused about the situation I found myself in. Part of the time, I wasn't really listening to them, and I was saying, I don't know what's going on. So yeah. So she's trying to explain those 19 I don't knows. Instead of it just being I don't know in response to a question or I don't know about a specific thing, she's trying to say she doesn't know what's going on. As in, with all the police being around. She's changing why she was saying those I don't knows. So Chaudhry goes, Mr. Jabbari, the question is, you told the officers you didn't know if you had fallen. Isn't that true? I would have to have my memory refreshed. Great. If you could please hand her the laptop at 6:31. Would the video that you watched yesterday, would that help refresh your recollection as to what Miss Chaudhry just asked you? Yes, it would. Mr. Jabbari, while we're setting that up, you had told your friend Holly a few hours earlier. Sorry. You told your friend Holly, when you were at Bellevue, that you might have fainted, right? That's what I told her, yes. Is it in the right place? So now they're lining it up to 6:31. Your Honor, it's a 3-second clip. Okay, I heard it. The question we asked there, what was the question again? What am I listening for? Whether you told Officer Swain you didn't know if you fell. This isn't that bit. This is them looking after. Why don't you just ask the question that you want answered, and then, if Mr. Jabbari doesn't remember it, just show her exactly what. Yeah. The question is, isn't it true that you told Officer Swain you didn't know if you had fallen? And it should be at the time of the body cam 11:22:16. Yeah, I don't think that's what she was shown, so show her exactly that. It's the same time. What time? 11 something. I really don't want to watch it. Can you listen to it and confirm it's the right spot, sir? What time is that? For the record, this is Officer Swain's body-worn camera at 11:22:16. Yeah, okay, I heard it. Having listened to that, does it refresh your recollection of whether I said you didn't know if you had fallen? Yes. And you did say you didn't know if you had fallen, correct? Yeah. Mr. Jabbari, I just want to I'm sorry. That's all right. You could step out. It's okay. So she runs out of the courtroom. So this is, Jimmy told us that she had run out of the courtroom. And she's going to come back. She's like, I don't want to watch this. Do I have to watch this? So this is right after she admits that she told the officer she doesn't know if she fell. So she runs out. I think at this point, Jimmy says you can hear her audibly. So she runs out. She's running down the hallway to where she's run before when she runs out crying. But in the courtroom, you can hear her still crying audibly. Like just, or whatever she does when she cries. So then she comes back in. Do you want to come up a second? They come up to the bench. The witness, oh, okay. Just a reminder, you're still under oath. Okay. Mr. Jabbari, there's no need to apologize. It's emotional. If you need time, just let us know. No one has any problem with that. Just let us know if you need to step outside. We'll accommodate, okay? Thank you. Miss Chaudhry. Mr. Jabbari, isn't it a fact that you asked the officers, why does everything hurt? Yes. Isn't it a fact? And shout out to Jimmy, because Jimmy has, when we did day 7, and I was relaying everything that I covered on day 7, that was coming from Jimmy, who went to court because he knew Dani wasn't going to be there. And shout out to him because he has been on it in describing exactly what happened. So Mr. Jabbari, isn't it a fact that you asked the officers, why does everything hurt? Yes. Isn't it a fact that after saying that, you again said, I'm so confused? Yes. And isn't it a fact that you asked the officers what happened? I think, yeah. And isn't it a fact that you asked the officers, why are you here? What did he do? Referring to Mr. Majors? Yes, that's correct. And isn't it a fact that you were the first one who brought up that Mr. Majors may have done something to the police? That's correct, yes. And isn't it a fact that you next asked the police, did he hurt me? I don't recall that, but I remember answering with confusion, but highlighting things. Would it refresh your recollection to listen to it? I really don't want to view that video. If that's okay, do I have to? Just re-ask your question. So the judge just wants her to re-ask the question instead of being able to refresh the recollection, but then you're going to end up letting these text messages come in because you're trying to impugn the witness, but you're not really giving her a chance to impugn the witness or refresh her memory. This judge is a weirdo. Isn't it a fact that you asked the police, did he hurt me, referring to Mr. Majors? Yes. And isn't it a fact that you asked, is my ear okay? It hurts. Yes. And isn't it a fact that you told the police the last thing you remember is you were just trying to sleep? Yes. And isn't it a fact that you asked the police, why am I in here? Referring to the closet. I don't know what I was referring to, but I think I said that, yes. And isn't it a fact that you told the police that you and Mr. Majors got in a fight because of a text from a girl that said, wish we were kissing or something? Objection, judge. That's sustained. Let's move on. And you said about that fight about the text. Objection, judge. And that's crazy to me because if you say something to a police officer, that absolutely will be used against you in court. Cops will use something against you that you didn't even actually say if they want to. But like, and now she gets this pass. She outcries something to a police officer. She outcries to the police officer, we got in a fight not just because I was trying to grab the phone, but because he was texting this other girl. So it's not just like we got in a tussle over a physical object and it was a physical tussle. She's saying, we got in a fight and I was mad at him because he texted another girl. She's highlighting that the problem again is the infidelity. Let's move on. And that you said that about the fight about the text. Objection, judge. This is the continuation of the last question. I just said sustained. Isn't it a fact that you referred to the never mind? Isn't it a fact that you told the police you didn't remember how your finger got hurt? Yes. Isn't it a fact that you told the police that Mr. Majors was grabbing your hand by gesturing, putting one hand over your other hand? Yeah, because she's sitting in the video and she's like, yeah, it would. I don't want to watch the video. Oh, she says, I don't know. Would it refresh your recollection to watch the video? Yeah, it would. I don't want to watch the video. Sir, if you could please show her, this is how she is in every argument. The way she's comfortable being in court, just amplify that by times 10 and imagine that's how she deals with discussions, conflict in a day-to-day conversation or argument. Yeah, it would. I don't want to watch the video. Sir, if you could please show her the officer swinging body-worn camera, 11/25/30. While he cues it up, Mr. Jabbari, isn't it a fact you were demonstrating by using gestures to the police what happened in the car? I don't remember, I'm sorry. Then we'll wait. Mr. Jabbari, do you need a moment? I don't know if I'll be able to do it, so I might as well, to get on with it. Mr. Jabbari, does that help refresh your recollection? Yes. Isn't it a fact that you demonstrated to the police that Mr. Majors was grabbing you by placing one of your hands over the other hand? Yeah. And isn't it a fact that you told the police that Mr. Majors was pushing your head? Is that right? Yes. Pushing your head where? The problem here with the questions in which time, we have 3 instances in the car and we're getting there. We should be there already. I mean, chat, help me out here. If Chaudhry's only asking Jabbari right now to recall, are you telling the police something? If Jabbari was combining details and context from the car while trying to ask a question about one line at a time of the police body cam footage, the judge would object for it to be a compound question. But now the judge is mad for some, the problem here with the questions in which time we have 3 instances in the car and, why would Priya be interpolating this line of questioning about what the police are saying with context of the car? Because that would be objected to too. This judge annoys me. We should be there already. Oh, okay. Isn't it a fact that you told, first of all, isn't it a fact that you told the police that you couldn't work out while your ear hurts? Yeah, that's true. Isn't it a fact that, well, at this point, Your Honor, I would like to play Defense Exhibit 202, which is a portion of what's in evidence from the EMTs when the EMTs come. It's not in? Isn't it a fact that after speaking to the police for a while, the medics come and interview you? I believe so, yes. And they were asking the sources of your injury to help. They were asking about the sources of your injuries, correct? I believe so. Your Honor, at this time, I offer what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 202, which is, as Your Honor previously ruled, is the portion of the body-worn camera where the EMTs interview Miss Jabbari. 202 is where the people consented to, right? That small piece? Yep. It was the people have seen it and you have no objection to it being moved into evidence. Judge, can we approach? There's the bench. Your Honor, again, I offer what's been marked for identification as Defense Exhibit 202. Any objection? No, Your Honor. Without objection, Defense Exhibit 202 will now be received. It publishes to the jury. Mr. Jabbari, in that clip we just saw, the medics, you told the medics that you remember being sick, and it's in the sheets, which is disgusting, correct? Yes. By that, you're referring to the bed sheets, correct? Yes. And you had, in fact, pulled the bed sheets off the bed because you had been sick in them, correct? I don't recall doing that, no. But you did tell them you had been sick in the sheets. Yes. And so you did leave was it vomit that was sick in the sheets? I don't understand what you mean by that. When you say, I remember being sick in the sheets, what are you referring to? Yes. That's such a Patrick Star answer. Like, no, Patrick, the lid. Yes. He's just touching everything but the lid. Vomit? Yes. That was in the sheets of the bed, correct? Yes. Mr. Jabbari, isn't it true that you, after the medics questioned you, which is what we just saw, you told Officer Swain again you don't know, objection as to hearsay, Judge, that after this, let me hear the question, and after this, you still said you didn't know whether you had fallen in the closet. Objection sustained. Sorry, I'm sniffly. Isn't it a fact that after that, you still said you don't know why you were in the closet? Objection sustained. Isn't it a fact that you still didn't know why you were in the closet? Hearsay, objection sustained. Isn't it a fact that you said you don't know what movement, objection, hearsay, caused your injuries? What was the question? You don't know what movement caused your injuries. That's sustained. There's no foundation laid as to when, what time, where. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Can I make this bigger? Hold on. What is the judge saying? Oh, I messed it up. There we go. What is the judge saying there, guys? That's sustained. There's no foundation laid as to when, what time, where the injuries were caused. That's our whole issue with the case, right? We agree, Judge. Isn't it a fact that, sorry, while the police questioned you in the closet at 11:31, you told Officer Swain you didn't know what exact movement caused your injuries? Yes. And isn't it a fact that at 11:31, you told Officer Swain, I don't know what happened to my finger? Objection as to hearsay, Judge. Overruled. Can you repeat the question? Isn't it a fact that at 11:30, you told Officer Swain again that you didn't know what happened to your finger? Yeah. The bottom line is that people can redirect all of this, especially, again, it's the time periods here, but you could redirect on all of this. Chaudhry continues, and isn't it a fact that you told Officer Swain at 11:32 that all of your injuries were sustained the second time you got in the car? I don't recall that. What? Oh my god, this is why they won't let the audio in. That's why. And isn't it a fact that you told Officer Swain at 11:32 that all of your injuries were sustained the second time you got in the car? I don't recall that. Would it refresh your recollection to listen to the video? Yeah, I guess so. If you could cue up Officer Swain's body-worn camera at 11:32:41, having listened to that, does it refresh your recollection? Refresh your recollection? Yes. And isn't it a fact that you told Officer Swain at 11:32 that your injuries were sustained the second time you got in the car? No, I didn't say that. Well, I don't hear myself say that. And isn't it a fact that you said, after you found the people who footed you the taxi and got you in the car, Mr. Major switched and grabbed you and caused these injuries? What? What I just heard, excuse me, is that we were driving back from a restaurant in Brooklyn to here. I saw the message and we got in a fight. And that's everything I just heard. I don't know if I heard the right bit. Did it play until 11:33:20? Do you want me to listen again? I think that's a lot longer than you did before, and I still didn't hear it. I'm sorry. It says we got in a car. Judge, if it doesn't refresh your recollection, that's fine. That's the problem with this. I could tell you what I heard. No, it's okay. Her attention has to be drawn to specific instances of whatever you're trying to get at, and I don't think it's being done that way, so go ahead. Isn't it a fact that you said that after you got back in the car, Mr. Majors grabbed you and caused these injuries. Objection, sustained. Isn't it a fact that you claim these injuries resulted? Objection, sustained. Just rephrase the question. Isn't it a fact that 11:33:05, you said that your injuries were sustained after you got in the car, after meeting the people on the street? That's not what I just heard. I'm sorry. If that is what I heard, I'm a bit confused. Do you want me to listen again? Yeah, if you could please listen at 11:33:05. Can I say what I hear? Your Honor, we object. Asked and answered at this point. Ask the question one more time. Be specific with the question and the time period, and just make sure Ms. Jabbari is shown precisely what the question is asking. All I'm doing is listening, and I could just tell you what I've heard. That's what we don't want. What? Just ask your specific question. Have him play specifically what Ms. Jabbari needs to hear. Okay. Isn't it a fact that at 11:33:01, you said that when you got back in the car, Mr. Majors switched, grabbed you, and caused the injuries? Which time? We had 1, 2, and 3. That's why it's confusing. Car 2. Yes, no. Then I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. If that's what bit I just played, then I didn't say that. Your Honor, I would like to ask one more question, then approach. Isn't it a fact that at 11:32:41, you told Officer Swain that in car incident 1, Mr. Majors got angry and you got out of the car, and after that, you met these people? Objection, overruled. Do you remember that? I don't remember. Can you please play her, and can we approach, Your Honor? Yes, so you have a sidebar. Mr. Jabbari, isn't it a fact that at 11:32:22, you told Officer Swain that in the car on the way back from Brooklyn, so this would be the car incident 1, you saw the text message and got in a fight, and Mr. Majors got angry and, objection, you got out of the car. Overruled. I believe so. So she tells Officer Swain she got out of the car. We have her saying, I believe so. That's her testimony. She gets out of the car. That's why she's crying. She doesn't want to watch this. I don't know if we'll ever get this footage with the audio. Oh my god. I believe so. And isn't it a fact that at 11:33:01, you told Officer Swain that you didn't know how Mr. Majors found you, but then you got back in the car, and in the car, he switched and grabbed you? Isn't that a fact? I don't believe that's a fact from what you just played me. I'm sorry. Would you like to hear that? She said it's not a fact. Your Honor, at this time, we would... I think she said, I don't know. All right, go ahead. Would we be able to play that audio now? No, I don't think the foundation has been laid. Ms. Jabbari, isn't it a fact that at 11:33:01, you told Officer Swain that after Mr. Majors came down the street and after you got back into the car, objection, let her finish the question, you started asking Mr. Majors about the text messages and he switched and grabbed you? It's sustained. Which time was this? After you got out of the car the first time, so this would be car scene 2. I don't know. I'm really confused. I'm sorry. I don't believe so. From what I heard, I don't think so. I'm not sure at this point. Ms. Jabbari, you got in the car with Mr. Majors that night. There were 3 car scenes, right? After the restaurant, yes. And isn't it a fact that you've told this jury that the injuries you sustained were from car 1, correct? I believe that to be true, yes. That is before you got out of the car, correct? Well, as I said previously, one of them was also while I was at the car and he lifted me. And that was all related to car 1, correct? Correct. And isn't it a fact that at 11:33:01, you told Officer Swain that after you got out of the car and after you got back into the car, Mr. Majors grabbed you? Objection again, Judge. I'm confused. Right. Was this the first time, second time, or third time? Isn't it a fact? How many times do they need to tell the judge that this is car 2? I get that Jabbari is pretending not to know. But why is the judge dumb? Isn't it a fact that you told Officer Swain at 11:33:01 that the second time you got in the car, after you found people on the street, that's when you were arguing with Mr. Majors about the text, and that's when he switched and grabbed you? I'm going to object to the forum. That I'll overrule, and this way we can move on. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Would it refresh your recollection to listen to that again? No, because what I heard is right there, so I'm a bit confused. Like I said, I could do a word for word if that helps. Isn't it a fact that at 11:33:25, you told Officer Swain that Mr. Majors just grabbed you on your hands, on your face, and on your face? Can you repeat that? Sorry. Yes. Isn't it a fact that at 11:33:25, you told Officer Swain that Mr. Majors just grabbed you on your hands and your face? Just grab me as in that's the only thing? Can I guess, is that something I should listen to? Is this a different part? What time is this? 11:33:25. When you told Officer Swain that Mr. Majors grabbed you, just on your hands and your face. I don't recall. I don't know. Would it refresh your recollection to listen? Is it the same bit I just listened to? No. Then yes, it would. I don't need to see you played it. I think I need it again. I didn't hear anything. Yes, I heard it. Isn't it a fact that you told Officer Swain at 11:33:25 that Mr. Majors grabbed you just on your hands and your face? That's what I said, yes. Isn't it a fact that at 11:33, sorry, can I go back? I said yeah, just on my I'm being casual. That's what I said. Isn't it a fact that 11:33:28 you told Officer Swain again that Mr. Majors grabbed you just on your hands and your face? I guess so, yes. And isn't it a fact that at 11:33:45 you told Officer Swain that you were being dramatic in the text that you sent? Isn't it a fact that at 11:33:45 you told Officer Swain that you were being dramatic in the text that you sent Mr. Majors when you got home? Yes, I recall saying that. Isn't it a fact that 11:36:44 you told Officer Swain that you were so confused and you didn't know why you woke up in the closet? Probably yes. What do you think she texted him at 3 in the morning when she got home? Probably yes. And think of that 911 call, what he says in the 911 call. Probably yes. Isn't it a fact that at 11:50:48 you said to Officer Lucero that you didn't realize how much you used your fingers until you hurt them? Sounds like something I would say. Isn't it a fact that while you were being questioned by the police, you did not mention your arm being twisted while behind your back? Objection, sustained. Isn't it a fact that when you were demonstrating the gesture of what happened with Mr. Majors, you never demonstrated a gesture of your arm being? Objection, sustained. Mr. Jabbari, after the police took you from the apartment, you filled out a domestic incident report with Officer Lucero, correct? Sorry, will you ask me that again? After the police took you out of the apartment, you went with Officer Lucero, correct? Yeah, not just him. And others? Yes. But all members of either the fire department or police department, correct? And a medic, I think, as well. When you stated that when the police were questioning you when you were in the closet, the way you spoke was partially because you were afraid of Mr. Majors, right? Yes. And by 12:15, when you left the police and the medics, Mr. Majors was not there, correct? He'd been arrested. And you knew that, right? At that point, I was made aware. And at the time, at 12:15, Officer Lucero helped you fill out the form called a domestic incident report, correct? Perhaps. I don't completely recall that. Mr. Jabbari, I'm handing you what's been marked for identification as Defense Exhibit 507. So Defense Exhibit 507 is shown to the witness. Have you reviewed what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 507? Yes. And do you recognize it to be the form that you filled out in your own handwriting with the police? Yeah, I believe we did it at the hospital. At the hospital? Yes. And that is your signature on this form? Yes, one of them is mine. And is it a true and accurate copy of the portion of the form that you filled out and signed? I assume so. Is that your handwriting? Yes. Your Honor, at this point, we'd offer the defense exhibit into evidence. Perez says, Judge, this is hearsay, people object. Under what theory? Just ask her the question. Ms. Jabbari, this is a statement you made under penalty of perjury, correct? No one informed me about that. It does say false statements made herein are punishable to a Class A misdemeanor pursuant to the penal law. Yes. Correct? Yes. You did write this in your own handwriting, correct? Yes, I did. And what you said on March 25th at the hospital with Officer Lucero when you wrote in your own handwriting is, objection, Judge, you can't just read the document into the record. Come up for a second, please. Isn't it a fact that you said that you woke up in the closet on the floor to the police? Objection as to form. Judge, again. Overruled. When? At the hospital, when you were with the police, isn't it a fact that you said, I don't know if I said it like that. I can't remember. Isn't it a fact that you wrote that? Yeah, I wrote that on there. Isn't it a fact that you also wrote that you don't remember being sick, that you remember being sick, but you didn't know why you were in the closet? Objection again, sustained. Don't ask her about the writing. Isn't it a fact that you said you remembered being sick, but don't know why you were in the closet? I don't remember what I said very much when I was at the hospital. Are you holding the document? Does she have it? Jabbari says, I have it. Just read that, and would that refresh your recollection? Yeah. And so she reads it. But this is something, I can maybe describe it later, but it's like I was over the skeleton of what happened, as I was worried that he would get in more trouble if I wrote down the full extent. What? At this point, you had already spoken with the officers in the closet, correct? I had, yes. and you had already told them that Mr. Majors had caused your injuries, correct? I alluded to it as I felt comfortable doing so. Well, you demonstrated to them in the ways Mr. Majors was grabbing you, correct? Yes. I alluded to some of the ways he had hurt me. And you said he had caused the injury to your ear and your finger, correct? He did cause the injury to my ear and my finger. And after that, you made the statement, correct? At the hospital? At the hospital, after learning he had been arrested, after having not much sleep or food. Why do you need to specify you didn't have much sleep or food when you made this statement? Isn't it a fact that at the hospital, you said he had a dispute with your partner the previous evening, some pain on finger and behind ear? Objection. We've moved on from, that's not on this. Is this the DIR? Yes, it's the last line, Your Honor. Who was this statement made to precisely? You made the statement to Officer Lucero at the hospital, isn't that a fact? Yeah, I find that confusing, as in, it was just like a statement. They said, look, we can't leave without you having a little bit of a statement. I think maybe they said, you don't have to write anything. I can't recall the conversation, but I wrote a very slimmed, narrow version. I think it's 2 or 3 sentences about what I felt comfortable putting on the paper in the moment. And did you make that, and you did make that statement under penalty of perjury, right? Everything I wrote on it was true in my head at that point, you know? Isn't it a fact that when you were at Bellevue being treated by the doctors, you stated you did not remember how you sustained the injuries? I don't recall my exact words, sorry. In sum and substance, did you say that you didn't recall? Did you remember how you sustained these? Objection. Injuries? That's overruled. Can you repeat the question? In sum and substance, isn't it true that you told the doctors at Bellevue that you don't remember how you sustained your injuries? I didn't tell them the full detailed description of how my injuries occurred. That is correct. I'm asking you the specific question. Didn't you tell the doctors at Bellevue that you didn't remember how you sustained the injuries? Objection, Your Honor. Which doctors? At what time? No, that's all right. You can answer. I don't recall my exact words. I do know I didn't go into an extreme detail 100%. I did not. I was trying to protect him. Just to be clear, while the doctors at Bellevue were treating you, Mr. Majors was not there, correct? He was. He'd been arrested. Mr. Jabbari, after you left Bellevue, you had a phone call with Chloe, the woman you met at the club, correct? At some point. I don't know if I heard about that. At some point, yes. And isn't it true that you asked Chloe if she noticed anything about your ear at the nightclub? Oh, I bet Chloe snitched on her in that April interview. Objection, sustained. Isn't it true that that night you were confused when you spoke to Chloe about how your ear got hurt? I still am, you know. It's not a very easy, I've never had an ear injury like that before. Isn't it true that you asked Chloe if she noticed anything about your ear at the club? Objection. At the club, no, that's overruled. I don't recall. So Jabbari doesn't recall. Mr. Jabbari, on March 27th, 2 days after these events, you met with the district attorney's office, correct? I was in the UK, so we had a Zoom conversation. I believe that's what you're referring to. And isn't it true that you told these district attorneys on March 27th that you did not remember how you got your injuries? Perhaps. I can't really remember. It was a whole whirlwind at that point. I can't remember. Isn't it a fact that you told these district attorneys that you had a lot to drink that night? As I said, I can't remember. I imagine I told them I was drinking. Yeah, I didn't lie. Isn't it a fact that the conversation you were having was you describing the events inside the car, with Mr. Majors that night? No, I wouldn't say that. I would say the conversation was a lot broader, about the whole history of our relationship. But they did specifically ask you about what happened in the car, correct? I don't recall, unfortunately. It was a long conversation, 2 days after this all had happened. I was exhausted. I can't remember my word-for-word conversation with them. 2 days after it happened, isn't it a fact that you said your injuries are on the right side, and you thought it was the scrappiness of the movements that caused them, correct? If that's what I don't know. I can't remember. As I said, I can't recall at all. Miss Jabbari, you met with these district attorneys, or you spoke with these district attorneys, again on April 25th, correct? I can't remember the exact date, but if that's, yes, potentially. And isn't it a fact that on April 25th, you said that when you got out of the car the second time is when Mr. Majors pushed your body hard enough to make you sit back? That's correct, yes. And isn't it a fact, on that date, you told these district attorneys you were freaked out by the blip in your memory? I think I was really shocked at how. Now think about that. Why did she have to tell them that she got pushed? in car 2. If you watch me read through the testimony on this part, I called it out. I'm sure it could be obvious to you guys too. You don't need me to call it out if you're also reading it, but she's got to make sure he contacted her first because she believes that this is where she knows this is where she sustained her injuries in car 2. I'm convinced it was car 2. You've heard me say that. But on April 25th, she has to go in and say, oh, in car 2, he pushed me. Because she needs him to make the physical contact first in car 2 because that's when these injuries actually happened. So that's correct, yes. And isn't it a fact that on that date, you told these district attorneys that you were freaked out by the blip in your memory? I think I was really shocked at how, in the media aftermath, and the whirlwind of what became a huge press storm, how overwhelming it was, and how things were coming back in this way. I've never experienced that before. Yeah, I was overwhelmed and confused. It was an interesting time. My question is, did you use the words, I was freaked out by the blip in my memory? I don't remember my exact words. I'm sorry. Were you freaked out by the blip in your memory? What blip in my memory are you talking about? Did you have a blip in your memory? Yeah, things like coming back to me. The more I calmed down and relaxed and allowed myself to not be worried about him and started realizing that I escaped my situation. Isn't it a fact that on April 25th, you told these district attorneys that you did not remember pain in your ear at the bar or club? I could have said that, yes. Ms. Jabbari, on May 9th, 45 days after this incident, you made another statement about what happened in the car with Mr. Majors. Did you recall that? No, a statement? Like a written statement? Yes, that sworn statement that Miss Galloway sent to you. Yeah, can I see it again? But I do have a recollection of that, yes. Sure. I'm handing the witness what's been marked for identification as Defense Exhibit 506. And, Your Honor, there's one for you. So this is Defense Exhibit 506 being shown to the witness for identification purposes. Yes, I recognize this. And this is the second page of, sorry, Defense Exhibit 506 is a statement that you made on May 9th of this year, correct? Yeah, if this is what that says, then yes. It's a statement. Yeah, I get a bit confused with whether it's which way around, so I write it differently, being English. That's not your handwriting? Is that not your handwriting on the date? No, it is, but just give me a second. You do month first, day second? Correct. Yes, 9th of May, 2023, yes. You made the statement under penalty of perjury, correct? I believe so, yes. And isn't it true that on May 9th, under penalty of perjury, you said that you observed Mr. Majors strike you with his hand across your right ear, causing substantial pain and a laceration to, objection judge, behind your ear. Grounds. It's not in evidence. Just ask the question. Don't read. Isn't it a fact on this date? Go ahead. So Chaudhry continues. Isn't it a fact that on May 9th, you said that you observed Mr. Majors strike you with a hand across your right ear, causing substantial pain and a laceration behind your right ear? So she just flat up came and said a new strike on the ear and the word laceration. And this is May 9th. That's correct, yes. And again, you signed that under penalty of perjury, right? Yes, correct. And you told this jury, and this is transcript 12 to 18, Your Honor, that you were looking away when Mr. Majors made the motion towards your head, and so you didn't see what he did, correct? That's correct, yes. Mr. Jabbari, you have testified that Mr. Majors, after car 1, he picked you up and slammed you into the car, correct? After car 1, yes. And that's when he picked you up off the ground, that he threw you against the car, and it hit the back of your head, right? He threw me into the car, yes, and the back of my head hit against the top, whatever you want to call it, the top bit of the door. You testified that it was the part of your head that is, the top of your head that, yesterday was near a ponytail at the top, correct? Yeah, the back of my head. And you testified that it hurt, right? Yes, it did hurt. And you testified you had a bump there, is that right? That's what I did, yes. Sir, if you could please show us People's Exhibit, and this is their compilation at 218. Just to be clear, and you testified you were facing Mr. Majors when he picked you up and he put you in the car. Therefore, the back of your head hit the car. Is that right? I believe so, yes. Is that a yes or a no? It's a, I believe so, yes. And you testified it's the same video that the people had showed you, right? That we all saw it. Sorry, what was that? You testified that this event happened during the video when the people showed you that this video we're looking at right now. I can't work out. Maybe just ask the question. It's confusing unless you raise it a different way. Your statement is that we all saw the video of Mr. Majors picking you up and hitting you on the back of the head, right? Because she said in her testimony, as we all saw. I believe so, yes. If you could please play at 2:18. This is the video you're referring to, right? Is that the video? Yes. If you could go to 2:41 of the people's video. Do you need a minute? I just don't want to watch it again if that's okay. I do need to ask you about it. It's okay, you can ask me about it. Well, Miss Jabbari, did you see in the people's own zoomed-in replay, in fact, you have your back to Mr. Majors, and that is your hair that we see? I don't believe that to be true. Can we see again? My back hits against the car, because you see my body bend this way. My body doesn't bend that way. Can we see again? I might be sick. What? Like, is she saying, like, in court she's nauseous and needs a moment? What? Come on. Miss Jabbari, you and Mr. Majors are both facing the car when he puts you in the car. Isn't that correct? Your Honor, asked and answered. I'll allow it this one last time. Go ahead. To me, it looks like the back of me. If it's not, I don't know what to say. If answered, that's what I believe it was. I'm basing it on what it felt like. This video, I don't want to watch it again. So, Miss Jabbari, when you wrote on May 9th that you observed Mr. Majors push you back into the vehicle with both his hands, causing you to fall backwards, that wasn't true, right? That was true. I was talking about when he pushed me in the second car. You were never outside of the vehicle when he pushed you. This is a lie. Hold on, let's read this. So, Miss Jabbari, because they're talking about when he picks you up, you're both facing the car. Unless he's talking about outside the door. Because there is a little scuffle in car 2 outside the door. I was talking about when he pushed me in the second car. I believe that's what I was referring to. He pushed me then as well. That was inside the car. That was car 2? Yes. So you weren't referring to this. Is that your testimony? I'm slightly confused with the timings of everything that you're saying, but there were multiple pushes, multiple injuries. Miss Jabbari, in that same, but you allege all of them happened in car 1. You don't really allege an injury from the one time he pushed you from inside the car in car 2. I'm slightly confused with the timings of everything that you're saying, but there was multiple pushes, multiple injuries. Miss Jabbari, because she's getting confused. Oh, I see it now. So there's all that. We've seen the video of car 2, but she didn't really testify to the pushing in the doorway. She says he pushed him, or he pushes her to get out, and she grabs at him to prevent him from leaving. And that's where she leaves it. She's like, I grabbed him one time, that's it. And I testified it was with my right hand, but then the next day I'm like, no, I don't remember what hand it was. But she gave a statement and described there is some doorway action in that moment because she's pulling at him multiple times and he's stuck. And he kind of just like goes like this in the doorway and they both end up walking away. She goes to Chloe. She must have described this in her statement to the police, but by the time she's testifying, she doesn't focus on car 2 because she doesn't want to draw attention to where her middle finger injury could have happened. So now she's confusing herself. So I'm slightly confused with the timings of everything that you're saying, but there were multiple pushes, multiple injuries. Miss Jabbari, in that same document that you signed on May 9th, where you said that you observed Mr. Majors strike you with his hand across your right ear. Yes. In fact, you did not see Mr. Majors strike you. Isn't that true? I believe that to kind of be legal terminology for filling out the statement. That's what I believe. So if I say I further observed this, it doesn't mean I was sitting looking. It's a part for sentence structure. Did you tell ADA Galloway that you didn't actually see it? It was understood. It was understood between us. That language was what we were using. I'm confused. You signed it under oath, correct? I did, yes. Under penalty of perjury? I did, yes. Miss Jabbari, when you met Mr. Majors in the summer of 2021, when you were on the set of Ant-Man, you were living with roommates, correct? Objection, relevance, sustained. The summer of 22, you lived in a house with Mr. Majors in London that you described as nicer than any house you've been in, correct? Yes. And you didn't pay attention to anything there, correct? I did not, no. And through your relationship, Mr. Majors took you on a trip to Hawaii for your birthday. Isn't that right? He did, yes. And that was early on, I think. They were in the Maui Four Seasons. Her birthday's in December, and or was it January, early January? When did she post that charity picture? Whenever she posted that charity picture is her birthday. But early on in their relationship in like January, someone spotted them at a Maui Four Seasons. So right away, that's why she loved the beginning of the relationship and it was so perfect. So, and then he took you on a trip to Atlanta, correct? He was living in Atlanta and he paid for you to come visit him? He did, yes. And to Los Angeles? Yes. And Texas? Yes. And he flew you back and forth from London to New York, right? Objection, relevance, judge, overruled. The judge wants the tea. Is that right? Yes. And he flew you first class, correct? Yes, at times. And in fact, he would send you photos of himself drinking champagne on the flight. You would send him photos of yourself drinking champagne on the flights, right? Yes. And when you were with Mr. Majors, he paid for everything, correct? I don't know about everything, but most things, yes. Very generous. And last year around this time, for your 30th birthday, he flew 7 of your friends from London to New York, correct? She's so isolated. Holy crap. That's correct. Yes. And he flew them first class, correct? Business class. Business class? Yes. And he put them all in a hotel on the Lower East Side for several days, correct? He did. Yes. And he, in fact, paid for the several days of lunches and dinners, correct? When he would come to dinner with us, he would pay for dinner, yes. And he sent you and your friends to a Mariah Carey concert for your birthday, correct? Correct. And he paid for your birthday outfit, which was approximately $8,000. Objection sustained. Mr. Majors paid for your birthday outfit, correct? Yes. And when you were living with him in that penthouse apartment, you saw the apartment listing before you moved in, correct? I saw videos of the apartment, yes. And you knew how much the rent of that apartment was, yes? Right? Objection as to relevance sustained. You didn't pay to live in that apartment, correct? That's correct, yes. Mr. Bari, as of October 2022, you referred to yourself as Mrs. Majors, correct? Objection as to relevance. Well, it was brought out on direct about them getting married, so you could ask that question. Is that right? I didn't refer to myself solely as Mr. Majors. No. What a way to answer that. What was the answer? Was it solely? Solely. Did you ever refer to yourself as Mrs. Majors? He used to call me Mrs. Majors in messages, and then I would sometimes use it as well, although I was quite adamant that I wanted to keep my surname if we were to ever get married. All right, Grace Jabroni. Isn't it true that on January 14th, 2023, you told Mr. Majors that he was the only man you would change your name for and refer to yourself as Mrs. Majors? I would have to know the context, but it upset him a lot when I said I wanted to keep my name, and it would appease his mood if I said I would take his name significantly. Isn't it true? Isn't it true that you did say that Mr. Majors, that doesn't even make sense. Because she's saying oh, he would say this, and I would always have to tell him I would take his name. But there's only one instance where she actually says that. There's no... It's not like Priya's saying, you repeatedly tell him you would take his name, and then she's going, yeah, I would have to repeatedly appease him. So this doesn't make sense. This is made up. Isn't it true that you did say that Mr. Majors was the only man you would change your name for, and then call yourself Mrs. Majors? Yes, potentially. Mr. Jabbari, isn't it true that as of November 2nd, 2022, you said that you can't wait to be Mrs. Majors? Objection, Judge. They had broken up in October. For that, the one journalist said October 11th. Objection, Judge. Let's move on. That's sustained. Mr. Jabbari, isn't it true that on January 25th, 2023, you asked Mr. Majors for... Someone screenshot this and send this to Dani so she can add it to her timeline of the Sundance Film Festival and the Oscars. Let's move on. That's sustained. Mr. Jabbari, isn't it true that on January 25th, you asked Mr. Majors for financial help because of a tax bill from the UK for £20,000? I don't recall that. I'm handing would anything refresh your recollection as to whether you said that? Yes. Handing the witness what's been marked for identification as Defense Exhibit 304. Defense 304 for identification being shown to the witness. Ms. Chaudhry, if that refreshes her recollection, do you want it read back or do you want to read it? So the reporter reads back the last question. Does that document you just read help refresh your recollection? Not really regarding that question. All right, that doesn't refresh her recollection. Isn't it true that You were having financial difficulties as of January 25th because of a tax bill in the UK of £20,000. Objection as to representation. On different grounds, that's sustained. Isn't it true that on February 23rd you asked of 2023, you asked Mr. Majors to pay for a hotel for you to stay in for a few days while you were in the UK? Can you say that again? Isn't it true that on February 23rd, 2023, you asked Mr. Majors to pay for a hotel for you to stay in the UK for a few days? What month? February. There may have been a few days where he paid for a hotel in February. I can't remember. Would anything refresh your recollection? Well, I remember there was a point in February where he did pay for a hotel for a few days. So is that the answer? Isn't it a fact that you asked him to? I don't know whether he offered or whether I asked. I'm not sure. Would anything refresh your recollection? Yes, that would. Handing the witness a spin marked as Defense Exhibit 305. Defense 305 is being shown to the witness. My memory is refreshed. Isn't it true that you asked Mr. Majors on February 23rd to pay for a hotel for you for a few days while you were in the UK? Yeah, I asked him for some help with that, yes. Isn't it true that as recently as February 27, 2023, you referred to yourself as Mrs. Majors? Objection, Judge. Sustained. Mr. Jabbari, isn't it true? Why is that sustained? Like, I mean, whatever. Mr. Jabbari, isn't it true that on, would it be hearsay, I guess? Because she's saying it? But, I don't know. Mr. Jabbari, isn't it true that on March 24th, 2023, before you went to the play with Mr. Majors, you referred to him as your perfect man? Probably. I don't recall, but I don't know why I wouldn't have said that at that point. And that's because he was your perfect man? He was my boyfriend and I loved him, yes. But did you use the words perfect man? Yes. Later that evening is all of the things we've been discussing where when you go to the play, right, that same evening. What is your question? Sorry? Later that same evening, when you refer to Mr. Majors as your perfect man, is when you leave for the play, right? Yes, I think so. Would anything refresh your recollection? As to whether it's the same day. She said, I think so. And then Chaudhry's shocked. Is that enough for you? Yeah. This judge. Because earlier he was like, well, she's not sure. Move on. By Miss Chaudhry. We have discussed all of the events that happened after you went to the play, and you got in the car 3 times. You went to the club, and then you go home. Isn't it true that after Mr. Majors sent you messages ending your relationship, the first message you sent him was, I'm not an idiot. Have fun with her and whoever you're fucking. I'm worth more than that. Have fun. I'm gone now. Yes, I did send that. Isn't it true that once you arrived back at the apartment, you called Mr. Majors over 30 times? Yes, that's true. Isn't it true that within those calls, you were texting Mr. Majors to call you? I was, yes. And isn't it true that the next text you sent to Mr. Majors was, I guess you're with Cleopatra. How could you do this to me? What's the point of getting this apartment and pretending to have this life together? Yes, I sent that. And isn't it true that after that, you continued to call Mr. Majors, right? I believe so, yes. And isn't it true that when you woke up around 7, you started calling Mr. Majors again? Potentially, yes. And he didn't pick up, right? I can't recall. Maybe we did speak that morning. I can't remember now. And isn't it true that when he didn't respond, you said, I'm leaving. I just need you to call me. Yes. And then you called him a few more times, right? I can't really remember. Sorry. And then you sent him the text messages that you refer to as dramatic with Officer Swain, right? Sorry, will you say that again? Then you sent him the text messages that you called dramatic when you were describing them to Officer Swain. I think all the text messages I sent him were dramatic. Sad to say. But you sent him text messages that prompted him to call the police. Objection. Sustained as to what he did. And that answer will be stricken if there was an answer. Mr. Jabbari, isn't it true that after Mr. Majors was arrested and while you were at Bellevue around 6 o'clock, you said to him, please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me you won't be charged. And by they, you're referring to the district attorneys, right? Objection. Sustained. So you don't let those come in? Oh, no, okay, she gets to reread it. Isn't it true that you said, please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me you won't be charged. Isn't that true? I think you worded it slightly wrong at the end, but yes to that. Mr. Jabbari, would it refresh your recollection to see anything? She didn't say that her recollection needed to be refreshed. Judge, I'm sorry, that I misheard. Isn't it true that you said to Mr. Majors, they assured me you won't be charged at 6 p.m. on March 25th? Via text? Yes. Yes. And isn't it true that you also texted him at 6 p.m. and said they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me and they knew we had a fight? Is that right? That's what I said. And you also said in a text to him, I'm so angry that they did this, and I'm so sorry you're in this position. We'll make sure that nothing happens about this, right? And so this is a bad transcription error. The text actually says will. It's not wheel, W-E''L-L. It's will, W-I-L-L. Will make sure nothing happens about this, meaning I will. She's saying she's going to do something. Like all those times she testifies, I do everything to fix everything. I'll do everything. I'll make sure nothing happens about this. That's what I said, yes. And you also said to Mr. Majors, I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only just got out of the hospital. Just call me when you're out, correct? Yes. And then half an hour later, you text him again, I love you, right? Yes. And you didn't receive a response to those text messages, right? Not to those, no. And then around 9 that evening, you text Mr. Majors again, correct? I believe so. And around 9, you said, at 9:32:59, you texted Mr. Majors and said, they just called again to check on me, and I reiterated how this was not an attack and they do not have my blessing on any charges being placed. I read the paper they gave me. Objection. Break it up a little bit. Isn't it true you said that? I did say that, yes. Isn't it true you also said, I read the paper they gave me about strangulation, and I said point blank that this does not occur and should be removed immediately. Isn't that true? I said that, yes. And isn't it true you said, the judge is definitely going to be told this. Isn't that true? Yes. And you also said, she ensured this to me. Is that right? Yes. And you're referring to Miss Galloway? Yes. And you said, I know you have the best team. There's nothing to worry about. I just want you to know I'm doing all I can on my end. Objection to the form. That's a little braggadocious, but what? What? So Perez objects to the form, and Judge Gaffey says that's a little braggadocious, but you can ask the question if you want, though. Isn't it true that you said that? I don't remember what you said just now, but it would be in the text message that I sent to him. Isn't it true you said to Mr. Majors that you wanted the judge to know that the origin of the 911 call was to do with you collapsing and... Objection, Judge. Just ask the question again. Isn't it true that you also told Mr. Majors that you said to tell the judge, that you said to Miss Galloway that she should tell the judge to know that the origin of his call was to do with you collapsing and passing out? Yeah, if that's what the text says, that's what I said. Miss Chaudhry, 2 more questions. I'm watching. Thank you. Mr. Jabbari, Mr. Majors did not call you after you sent him those messages on March 25th, right? He didn't call me, no. And he didn't... Wait, I don't know actually if that was totally true. Yeah, I had a lot of missed unknown numbers. He also contacted my parents to try to get a hold of me. What? If he didn't call you, why would he call your parents? I'm asking if he called you. I don't know, I had a lot of messages. I had a lot of numbers calling me with an unknown number. It could have been him. I don't know. You did not speak to him? I did not, no. I didn't answer any of those calls. And he did not... She's crazy. And he did not text you back on March 25th? He didn't text me. He didn't text you back on March 26th, did he? No. And he did not call you and speak to you on March 26th, right? He could have called me. I did not answer. I did not speak to him. When you say he could have called you, that's question 7. But that's important because she's making something up here. Go ahead. Did he call you? Did you see his number? I know he was trying to get in contact with me. He contacted my parents, and I had a lot of numbers calling me. Unknown numbers, like numbers removed. I don't know who that was. He's never spoken to you again, right? He texted me, yes. He's never spoken to you again. Objection, Judge. Can we approach? Come up. So they go up. Mr. Jabbari, 2 days after you sent Mr. Majors those text messages on March 25th, you had a Zoom call with ADA Galloway and Perez, right? I believe so, yes. It was close to the event. I will pass the witness, Your Honor. All right. Mr. Jabbari, remember that you're still under oath and you'll be back tomorrow. So they're going to be on redirect tomorrow, blah, 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 blah. So, well, that was some fun stuff. Let me work backwards here. But yeah, so I'm curious exactly what is opening the door, what they're going to talk about tomorrow. I mean, maybe we read it in testimony here and I just like overlooked it. But yeah, it makes me think anyone can be convicted of anything in New York. I don't think people realize how bad it is until it happens to them. They give the criminal suspect immunity in pursuit of their target. So I don't know that much about the Tory Lanez case, but I know that with Kelsey Harris, like there's a viable question there of she was in the car, someone saw her with the gun. She wasn't tested to see if her fingerprints, or if she had gun residue. But Tory Lanez did not have gun residue on his hands, right? I think it was like all over the car, but it like wasn't specifically on his hands or something, or his fingerprints weren't on the gun. And it's just kind of like they give Kelsey an immunity of some sort. Like, and then she goes to her deposition. I know she went to her deposition with her husband sitting next to her, but part of the context of the story of what could have happened between Kelsey having motive against Meg is Kelsey was seeing and messing with Tory Lanez, and so was Meg, who was her best friend, and she was about to find out that Meg and Tory had been messing with each other. Like, he was cheating on her with Meg. So she's sitting in this deposition with her fiance or husband or something. That's kind of a weird thing, right? If your husband's sitting there with you, you're not going to get into certain types of things that could convey a motive, because you're not going to talk about intimacy and cheating and all the things like that in front of your future husband. So there are some weird things that I'm aware of in that case, but I really didn't follow it like that. I just realized he really needs to play Othello, since he basically lived a modern nightmare version of Black. Let's see. Imagine if cameras were allowed. People are making fun, not just realizing this is setting a dangerous tone for a non-celebrity successful Black man. Yep. Especially since, even if you go to NYU and get a master's, they're gonna try to knock you off the jury if you're a successful, intelligent Black man, because they're gonna say they don't think you can understand jury instructions. But this whole jury didn't understand jury instructions, and they were fine. See, look up mission of the Gotham Sidney Poitier. Is it Poitier? Or is it like some fancy way to say that? And see who JM is affiliated with. I think he'll be alright if these people have his back. I mean, hopefully. I hope someone does. I know the nature of the case kept them from doing it, but it seems like she was a hostile witness. Is that talking about the other case, maybe? What is that? I wonder what part you said this at. What a blank. Fill in the blank. The cops talking about how expensive his house is and threatening him like his lawyer said before the trial started. Exactly. And then also her walking out on Lucero's body cam and saying, like, is it going to be in the media, and smiling. And then she complains about the media storm and how overwhelming it was for her. Will we ever get that footage of the audio? I don't know. I think that would be so damning. I can't imagine it being good for her. I can't imagine it being good for the police. But it sounds to me like she says on that audio that everything happened in car 2. And maybe I just want to believe that because I've been stuck on that theory, but Priya really wanted to ask that question, and they wouldn't force her on it. And the thing is, you have the right to impeach a witness. And the judge wasn't going to let it happen here, but somehow he's going to let these texts come in tomorrow. I'm acting like this is happening right now, but the next day of transcripts is redirect. But yeah, goodness, she's saying he assaulted her in the car the second time. And yeah, if you guys are over on X, like, start kind of talking about that part, because that's underreported, and that's really big. Like, I don't think Priya would have sat there and repeated it so many times, you know what I mean? She said the same words over and over. That's when he changed and started. So... wow, so now she needs guidance on her stupidity. The judge is full of it, letting her get away with this mess. The judge is a pain. She got out of the car. She chased him out of the car the instant they hit the sidewalk, which the car was nowhere near, as the video shows. Yep. Perjury, multiple perjuries, yeah, if only. She's acting like she didn't know what she was signing. They're going to ask her that on redirect. They're going to be like, do you know what the phrase I observed means. Wow, she is playing dumb to avoid laying the foundation. Yep, we've seen her do that several times. It's to me, it's not just a free pass on the one now. You've done it multiple times. You know what you're doing. I would have been, and that's the thing, like, people are coming at Priya Chaudhry like, oh, you're opening the door, but it's like, the judge is being too lenient. The discretion, the judge is like being braggadocious with his discretion. There's too much of it going on. This witness is purposely not laying foundation. Like, yeah, that's Jonathan in the photo, but you know, I don't know if that's his clothes. I don't know when this photo was taken. I didn't take it. She does it with the pills. Like, she's doing it with the audio on the body cam where it's her in the video. And so there's not enough foundation for it to come in, and they won't let Chaudhry impeach her on it. But yet they let these text messages come in with no context. I would have been bald if I had to ask her questions. I want to pull my hair out just listening to the reading. She is dancing around laying the foundation. It's consistent. This is the pattern. This pattern of psychological abuse is really what Jabbari's doing to the courtroom. They should have been on Annaliese and had everyone working to highlight her testimony, to read it back every time she played dumb. Yeah, if only. The judge was not going to let that fly, though. She really was as relentless she could be, but the judge wouldn't let her impeach. Unfortunately, her round and round to trip Jabbari up also confused the jury, in my opinion. That's probably true in part. The jury was too lazy to get key points read back. And, you know, they might not have been following this type of thing. Like, they might not care. They might not sit there and be like, oh, the way she's responding, she's evading laying foundation. Like, I would start to think that. And when I see it happen 3 or 4 times, I would start to conclude that. But the jurors might not think the way that we're thinking in here. So much playing dumb. She's very cognizant of everything. This is a lifetime skill of hers. And she has to qualify every yes or no statement. Exactly. And then, and yeah, and it's like they won't let Priya talk about what was testified to on direct. And I think that's the defendant's right. You have the right to anyone accusing you, anyone that's a witness. The defense has a constitutional right to a witness against them to have cross-examination. But to me, it was really limited, at least as far as Jabbari's testimony. I haven't read through transcripts of the other ones so far. Maybe the judge is the same way across the board for all of it. I don't know. We'll see. Yep. She's very much more, like, pointed. She ate all that meat, though. Yeah, because she mentioned that, like, 2 different stories. You know, I think it was the time they ordered food. She mentions, or, no, I don't know. But there's been more than one time she's like, we ate a lot. Like, all right. It's true in your head. Yeah, that part was weird. What was she saying that about? I'm gonna type it up. Man, the word true pops up too many times. Oh yeah, the memory in my head. So how long was Mr. Majors in the car for car 3? As I said, it's not clear, the memory in my head. Actually, that's on page 29 of this, so that can't be what we read today. Because we started at like page 88 or something. But yeah, she said something like that and it was weird. And apparently she said something similar like that in the beginning of this. She's always using phrases like that that just seem like... the girl's crazy. And she phoned Chloe. And that's weird to me too, because Chloe's like, I've never talked to her again. So... like, was she just telling the prosecution that she phoned Chloe, or did she phone Chloe and Chloe didn't answer her? But yeah, everything is true. Actually, maybe Chloe did say they talked one more time and that was it. And we all just assumed maybe it was to send the pictures or say goodbye. But she said it was the 26th. So I'm going to go and look at the court reporting for when Chloe testified and see. But I don't know. And I didn't get her transcript, so I can't just go and read them. But yeah, refresher, Priya, refresher. Refresher, it sounds like the after she claimed $250 of toiletries, refresher all you want. Yeah, she can't recall. It does sound very political. Multiple story issue. Yeah, she gets tripped up over herself too. But other people don't see it because it wasn't reported on. Like the reporters aren't saying like, oh, she said this, but then she also said that, which is inconsistent. And then Priya's got a refresher on everything. And then the when she doesn't recall, the judge doesn't give Priya the opportunity to impeach because he's not going to let that audio come in. I think if there was, and that's the problem, right? Because that's where I keep speculating. Like, Jabbari knows more than she should. Someone's telling her something that she shouldn't know because it seems like she knows that this audio is not going to come in. Like, the judge isn't just going to be like, oh, you don't recall something? You're saying you don't recall it even though it's being played for you? Go ahead, Priya, impeach the witness. Like, play the audio out loud to the court. I think she knew that that audio was not going to come in, so she could say more than she usually would have the leeway to do. She could say, I didn't recall, even though it's being played right in her ear, because that judge was firm on that audio from the police camera not coming in. And that's crazy to me for two reasons. Because one, it's extremely favorable to Jabbari as a witness against the defendant, but two, it's also extremely protective of the police, the body cam, and that's such a lack of transparency for the criminal justice system. But it's the only thing that makes sense to me why Priya would be able to say that like 3 times. You're hearing it right then and there, and you're still saying you don't recall, but yet she's not able to impeach her. Like, and hopefully that mess ends up working favorably. Maybe somebody will see that as an appellate issue that's worth being heard and adjudicated. Yeah, can you imagine if she was like as a child? Probably her parents, well-meaning, tried to give her a better life, but didn't push her to do more for herself. Well, that if she has like an academic family and she's the artsy one, you know, there's like a certain stigma between arts and academics in certain families. Like a super academic family can often want their child to go down the academic route, and then when they end up becoming the artsy one, they're kind of like the free-spirited one of the family. And it's not always just a naturally accepted thing in all family groups. Um, but yeah, and then, hey Lily, she says, I might be sick is a way to get out of being questioned, but also makes the jury feel sorry for her. Master manipulator. It was kind of a random time to say it, too. Like, I could say it wasn't so random because I'm going to assume that she's saying it because there's something she wants to avoid saying. But otherwise, if you're going into it benevolently, if you're going into it without suspecting her of wanting to get out of answering a question, it's really random to just out of nowhere be, yes, no, I don't recall. Yes, no, I don't recall. Oh, I think I'm going to be sick. And then suddenly you're fine again 2 seconds later. Why are you saying this? And then, yeah, I don't know if they. That's usually something that on direct with your own witness, you would ask for permission to treat the witness as hostile. That way you can ask, like, leading questions and yeah, usually that's something like if it was the prosecution asking Jabbari questions and she turns on them, they could ask for permission to treat the witness as hostile. Yep, so that's exactly what I was thinking while I was reading it, and she was trying to say now it's car 2 because she told the cop car 2. She knew that statement was being questioned, and she must have told the cops at some point in a statement or verbally or somewhere that this all happened in car 2. He changed up, things got crazy. And then sounds like the judge is just as, and I think she said that because she knows the injury happened in car 2. Her finger injury happened in car 2. Sentence structure, what? What's that? And then car 2 is where she ripped the coat and probably her finger. That's what I'm saying. Like, to me, it really makes the most sense. And then also knowing this new detail today, we have 2 pages of her trying to get out of agreeing that she told the police about car 2 being the spot that this all happened. That's insane. And the news media didn't report that at all. And then ripped his coat. Sorry, yeah. Sick like in Jonathan. Yeah, I'm gonna be sick. I'm gonna be sick like in the sheets. She's happiest when he's spending a ton of money on her with 7 friends. Same thing, business class. Like, yeah, buying the champagne bottle. She was super happy. She was enjoying her life. Everything was great while she was at the club spending money on champagne bottles. Yeah, 8,000 American dollars, and then 2 minutes later we get to the $20,000, 20,000 pounds. Out of all the women, he picked a broke alcoholic. She didn't pay the UK her Ant-Man money, so she dodges taxes on top of all of this. And they must have had something. They probably had a text message from Jonathan asking, because remember, they might not have been around each other constantly between like December 2022 and February 2023, because it seemed like they were kind of on and off, but he was still coming to spend time with her. They rekindled for her birthday. Um, and then she's in the apartment then after that. So it's like unclear what was going on in those months, but I mean their whole relationship seemed on and off after those first few beginning months where they spent a ton of time together. So it's possible that he has a text message where she's not with him in person, so she has to text him to ask because they're not face to face. So I believe that Priya had something she was going to introduce. They just wouldn't let her show what it was. But yeah, I'm shocked she managed to accrue that much in back taxes. Her perfect man was the money to spend. Yeah, the ATM. If you just switch the letters of Ant-Man around a certain way, you get something ATM. You know, that's what she thought she was meeting. I don't know if she would have made that much money for Barbie because she was. I mean, I'm sure. I'm not saying it was like not a high-paying role, but it was like a whole team that was hired on to do dance work for Barbie. It wasn't like she was like an actor with like speaking lines in the movie or anything like that, right? So I'm not sure. I mean, obviously they'd work out their own contract for pay, but yeah, all her texts were dramatic, huh? Yeah, she's making it, she thinks it's cute. She's playing it off like it's cutesy. And then this was part of the setup too. I wonder, were you referring to like calling Chloe asking about the ear, maybe? It seems like the DA did coach her story and she's being tripped up by the questions. And only in America can a so-called victim lie 11 times, get caught on camera chasing a man she fears, blow money in his credit card. You missed that part where she attacks him a second time. Stay at his home, and King is the aggressor. Yeah, she was in that car too, like 5 seconds. She kept trying to say it was several minutes. The question about what she said on video is what happened, opened the door, it seems like, which is weird because she did say it on video. Then I don't see how that means to bring in those texts. So, and it's a catch-22, right? Because either you're going to try to impugn her credibility because she's not credible. And by doing that, you give a free pass for these text messages to come in according to the judge. It opens the door. But on the flip side, you would just not impugn her credibility. So there's no win. She grabbed his coat and he was gone. She's tripping. And she left all the stuff behind in the car too. But yeah, that was a weird part where she tells the police, or she tells the DA that she was the one that got out of the car first. Like, yeah, all of it's crazy. I don't know if the jurors were idiots or racist or both. Probably a little bit of both. And then the others just didn't have conviction. I mean, I would sit on that jury. We can sit here until you agree to deadlock. We can deadlock if you want to deadlock, but I'm not letting you out charging this man. Like, I'll let it be 5-1. There's 6 of them. I'll let it be 5-1. I'll be the holdout. I'll tell the media I'm the holdout. I don't know if the jurors were idiots or racist. Probably both. The playing dumb really does indicate how well she must psychologically terrorize people. I mean, Priya did ask her that one big question. And hey, Suburbia, thanks for joining us. And then wait, what did I miss? Oh, he had to resign from the Gotham Foundation due to these allegations. Damn. So that's what you guys said earlier, that hopefully they would back him. True in her head is the new alternative facts. I remember Chloe said fair game, girly, and we never got context on that. I don't know. I wonder if the phone call was connected to that. Maybe there's something kind of audible in... Maybe if we listen to that audio like really close, we can hear what that was being responded to. I think the judge is braggadocious with his discretion. I don't know why he said that word. People said Priya wasn't good. She was great, but that court had the odds stacked against JF from the get-go. I mean, I really think she got stumped on trial strategy because she was told she would be able to ask about the arrest. And then at the end, at the almost very end of the case, one of her final witnesses that's going to testify about the arrest isn't allowed to testify about the arrest. So, and good luck with the tournament. Good night, cutie one. You're probably gone reading this, but sorry we missed saying goodbye to you. The judge said guilty until proven innocent, for real. The judge seems to be protecting the NYPD being shady as fuck. That's what I think about that audio. Because that audio really tells you where the injury happened. And then, good night, and then you're still up. I was going to catch a replay later. I'm about to close it out. We got done reading, and you're the last comment right now, too, so that's kind of perfect. I should have some time tomorrow night. Maybe. So there's like 4 quarterfinal matches. So depending on how many games in each set, like if they go to, if it's best of 3. So if a lot of them end in 2 games, it'll be really fast. And I'll have a shorter day. And I'll come home and we can go through the redirect and Holly Blakey and see what Holly Blakey says. That'll be cool to line up with the text message and police timeline. But if it's a late night, I'll try to do it Saturday. Sunday night's going to be a no-go for me because they're going to be doing, we have to break the whole stuff down to get ready to drive home on Monday. There's a big storm rolling through. Did you hear the thunder? I don't know if you guys could hear that. But Monday I'll be on the road. I'm not the one driving, I'm passenger seat, so I'll probably be in whoever's lives doing whatever. But I'll try to get on Saturday. We can go through Holly's testimony. After I get through the transcripts that I have, I do want to kind of go through and I don't know how I'm going to structure it, if I want to do it by incident or like a roll-up of all the days based on transcripts. I'm leaning towards doing an incident recap. So for example, I think it's hailing. It's like tinking around out there. But so for example, if we do an inconsistencies in car 1 and inconsistencies in car 2, club inconsistencies, Holly phone call inconsistencies, and we just wrap up, we bring everything from direct and cross-examination, plus even outside evidence. And we just break down each incident, maybe a video on each. That's kind of how I want to make it more digestible for people that aren't going to sit here and hang out with us for 3 hours at a time or read the entire transcripts on their own. Because there's people out there that I really think if it was digestible for them, if they could look at just one incident and you gave them 20 minutes to consider it, they'd be like, damn, I didn't know all this. This is kind of wild. So it's something I can try to help curate. If you think anything is worth a bullet point putting in any of that, always just comment it or message it to me or whatever. Or if you have ideas on how to structure that. But it's something I'm going to do as time allows. And then what am I missing here for the last few comments? It sounds so loud. It's like, I can't believe I'm like in Texas from Florida and they're getting hailstorms. And I mean, hopefully everyone that's important for this tournament is already landed. It sounds so crazy outside. But yeah, Priya got tripped up because the judge sustained all the objections and Grace Jabbari, arresting officer, was shut down. Yep, and I really don't think you could have seen that coming when you were told that you were going to be able to ask. LAPD said that Chris Rock did not want to press charges against Will Smith, so I don't get it. How district attorneys need the victim to report or not. Yeah, and you don't really need, in that situation, you don't really need Chris Rock to testify because it's on camera and there's other witnesses, so... And then can we put word out for Officer Mejia's testimony? Would love a read through. Yeah, I gotta look. I think that's a different court reporter was in the court that day, so I'd have to go through the motions of the New York courts. They're gonna throw me around and be like, oh, I don't know, and then I gotta call back and ask the next person and see if they actually know what I'm talking about. But yeah, we could figure all that stuff out about the other transcripts. And then most of Mejia's was objected to. Hope there's no rain of fog. Yeah, it sounds crazy. It's definitely hailing. It's supposed to snow when I'm driving home. The tournament is Smite. It's like League of Legends. It's like slightly smaller in scale, but I mean the prize is like a multi-million-dollar prize to the teams. This is their 10th year doing it. It's season 10, so That'll be really cool. Um, it's a fun game. Like over 1,000 people showed up today to check in early and like pick up their swag bags and stuff for the event tomorrow. So it's and there's like thousands more coming tomorrow. There's also we're right next to the AT&T Stadium and there's a Cowboys game. I think it's the Packers coming in to play them. So that on Sunday there's going to be all the tailgating. I can barely hear myself because of the hail. So maybe that's my sign to get off of here. Oh, hey Kat, what was the big question Priya asked that you mentioned earlier? Hold on, now I gotta rack my brain. Big question Priya asked. Oh, just a few minutes ago, a few seconds ago, she was trying to get Grace Jabbari while she had the headphones on to listen to the police body cam footage to say, um, and you're telling the police officers that all of this happened, this big fight happened in car 2. That he switched up and everything happened in car 2. She's like, no, I'm not saying that. I don't hear that. I'm listening to something different. I must be. So I think that's what you're referring to if you just heard me say that like 2 or 3 minutes ago. If it's not, if you want to comment it on the video, I can go back and figure it out. But you guys have a good night. Look to see if I schedule a live tomorrow night if time allows, and we can go into the redirect. If not, we'll try Saturday night. And then she mentally terrors people, and you're yeah. Yeah, I think it was probably that, because if she tells the police officers that everything was happening in car 2, that kind of suggests her finger injury was caused by her swiping at him and the pocket, and that scuffle we see when she's getting out of car 2, he's getting out of car 2 and then she follows him. The injury wasn't caused by prying the finger off of a phone that he, according to the GMA interview, never actually lost control of. So, but you guys all have a good night. Oh, I'm glad you know what Smite is. Well, there's a big announcement there tomorrow. That announcement's going to be made. It's one of the earliest things in the event. I'm running their Twitter, so for the event only. So if you really like Smite, they have a big keynote address tomorrow morning. I should know the time. I want to say it's like 11 a.m. Eastern that they're doing it. But if you still play it, it's a really big announcement. But before I say too much, let me hop off of here, and you guys have a good night. Thanks for joining.